Good morning, esteemed guests, industry leaders, and fellow HR professionals.
Welcome to the IMDR HR Summit 2024, centered around the theme HR Tech, the Next Tech, in partnership with OHR, curated by Upohan. I, Vaishnavi,
And I, Manas,
are thrilled to be your host on this exciting journey into ever-evolving world of human resources.
looking around this room, I see a kaleidoscope of talent, seasoned veterans with decades of experience, alongside bright-eyed newcomers brimming fresh ideas. This summit is designed to be a melting pot of knowledge where each of you can learn, share, and collaborate.
Whether you're a seasoned practitioner or just starting your HR odyssey, there's something here for everyone. From visionary keynote speakers to engaging panel discussion, thought-provoking point of views, and insightful award ceremonies, this summit promises to be an enriching experience.
Now, without further ado, let us begin with the event.
So Manas, do you know what is the preamble behind this HR event?
Yes, maybe you can throw more light on it.
So today, we stand at the age of new era in human resources, where technology not only shapes the way we work, but also the way we think about work itself. This summit is a beacon for all HR professionals, industry leaders, and innovators, offering a platform to explore, debate, and define the future of HR technology. Together, we will dive into the latest trends, challenges, and opportunities that are setting the stage for the next revolution in the HR landscape.
Let me introduce the dignitaries on the dais to you. We have amongst us Shri Yogesh Patgaonkar, CHRO, Serum Institute of India. Sorry, sir.
But we are good friends.
Shri Mahendra Inge, CHRO, Serum Institute of India. Shri Jagdish Kadam, Chairman, IMDR, Board of Management, and Dr. Shikha Jain, Director, IMDR. Let me take an opportunity to introduce our Chairman, Shri Jagdish Kadam. He is the founder, chairman, and director of Rajpath Infracom Private Limited, Raj Infrastructure Private Limited, and Raj Mark Private Limited. He is the trustee and member of the Council of Deccan Education Society. He has been instrumental in infrastructure development in the state of Maharashtra for 32 years through many road, irrigation, and other public works in government projects, private projects, and cooperative sector. His exemplary work has won much recognition and many prestigious awards by government institutions and associations. His efforts have brought international acclaim to the country, as he led his team to achieve the Guinness World Record of laying 75-kilometer continuous bituminous concrete single-lane road. Under his leadership, Rajpath Infracom has also received a world record for laying bituminous concrete single-lane road, noted in Indian Book of Records. He has been felicitated with several certificates of appreciation and excellence by the government for development and water conservation initiatives by creating water bodies and utilizing natural resources. His alma mater, the College of Engineering Pune, exhibits pride in him by conferring him with Abhiman Award 2022. Believe me, the list goes on. Now I request her to deliver the welcome address.
Good morning, everyone. Till this time, you might have understood that I am odd man in. I am someone on the IMDR, so I am in between these experts and the available audience. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Deccan Education Society, which has a legacy of almost 139 years, and our IMDR Institute, a warm welcome to each one of you as we gather here for the IMDR HR Summit 2024, HR Tech, the Next Tech. See, we are going through, as IMDR, we are celebrating this year a golden jubilee year. We are into the 50th year of our journey as an institute. It is indeed a pleasure to see such a diverse and accomplished audience gather to explore the dynamic landscape of human resources in the age of technology. Though I said I am odd man in, but we did a Guinness World Record. That time I personally experienced the importance of human resources. Without the management, the managerial skills of human resources, because this Guinness World Record we did, this is the first time in the road sector of Indian infrastructure we could achieve this Guinness World Record by laying 75 kilometers. And why 75? Because it was the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, and it was the 75th anniversary of Indian independence. And that too we did this, and we dedicated this Guinness World Record to a great nation. So I know the importance of HR. So for today our chosen theme, HR Tech, the next tech, serves as a guide for the discussions and insights that will unfold over the course of this summit. Today I got to know that there are 3 workshops or summits to be held up in Pune. Still, you all dignitaries, you are here. You have taken out some time for IMDR, for the students, for this summit. I must thank you from the bottom of my heart. In the rapidly evolving world of HR, technology has become an integral force reshaping the way we attract, manage, and develop talent within our organizations. The summit provides a unique platform to share experiences, exchange ideas, and explore the innovative solutions that will redefine the HR landscape. In the journey ahead, we anticipate discussions on the integration of artificial intelligence, data analytics, and automation into HR processes. The advent of these technologies is transforming traditional HR functions, enhancing efficiency, and enabling a more strategic approach to workforce management. Furthermore, HR Tech, the next tech, highlights the critical importance of staying ahead of the curve in the face of technological advancements. It prompts us to reflect on how HR leaders can adapt, innovate, and lead their organization through this era of unprecedented change. As we navigate through the summit, let us collectively envision the future of HR as a harmonious blend of human insight and technological prowess. Together, let us explore the possibilities, challenges, and ethical considerations that come with embracing the next wave of HR technology. I am very delighted to share that in the spirit of recognizing and encouraging emerging leaders in the field of HR, we as a IMDR will be presenting the Emerging HR Leader Award 2024. This aims to celebrate the achievements and contributions of a promising individual who has demonstrated exceptional leadership qualities and innovation in navigating the evolving challenges of HR in this digital age. We look forward to the stimulating discussions and valuable insights that will emanate from our collective exploration of HR Tech, the next tech. Thank you for being a part of this exciting journey into the future of human resources. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Jagdish sir, for your insightful words. Let's welcome our keynote speaker, Mr. Yogesh Patgaonkar, Chief People Officer at Persistent Systems. This master coach and HR veteran packs 25 plus years of expertise. He has led HR functions globally, nurtured leaders with 2500 plus coaching hours, and built high-performing teams across industries. Sir is known for his P&L magic, strategic vision, and has even published poetry. On behalf of IMDR, we welcome you, sir. I request our chairman, Shri Jagdish Kadam, to felicitate Shri Yogesh Patgaonkar, sir. Thank you, Jagdish sir. I request Yogesh sir to take charge of the session. Sir, the stage is all yours.
Good morning, and it's always nice to be a part of anything that Deccan Education Society does for just the sheer history of the society. It's nice to be, there's a very selfish reason to be part of this, because on a Saturday morning, generally you are listening to your acts of omission at home. So sometimes when somebody introduces you so nicely, that's a good one. The other nice reason is that to my young friends out here who are studying, it is a journey from IMDR canteen to this auditorium here, because though I'm not an IMDR alum, IMDR canteen is a pretty happening place. So if you have not visited that in Pune, you are not living Pune. So with that, I'll just start. Now, the moment I listened to this topic, and when Advait talked to me and said that, HR tech, the next take, the beauty about the technology is that everybody is always guessing. And what seems impossible is a mundane fact in some time. In this very city, I have heard a CTO talking, I will not name the company, about 22 years back, saying that, ridiculing the whole concept of mobile banking. Saying that, and those times, if you remember, were not smartphones, those were the QWERTY key phones. So this person was talking and he was ridiculing, saying that, do you really think that somebody is going to type the QWERTY keys to do the mobile banking? Is it going to happen? And today you and me can't think about banking without mobile banking. So that's a fast pace of technology. I grew up in a childhood where Doordarshan was the only channel, and Star Trek used to be the big tech thing on a Sunday morning. So that's available on the OTT. So sometimes for my nostalgia, I keep watching that. So one day my son asked me, what are you watching? I said, I'm watching sci-fi from my childhood. So he asked me, oh, you also had a sci-fi in your childhood. Sometimes my son thinks that I and Dinosaur were the backbenches today, and that's my aware of technology. The first reaction I had to this invitation was, I went to the ChatGPT and typed saying that HR technology trends in HR. And then I suddenly realized there are a lot of my younger friends out here who can write the prompts much better. So let me not attempt that. So what I thought I'll do is that, based on whatever little experience I have, I started my career in '93, and the first 5 years of my career, especially for my backbencher young friends out there, first 5 years of my career, there was no internet and there's no email. And believe me, we could still work, right? So I'm going to take you through what I consider, and there are 15 minutes allotted to me. I'll stick to that. I'll try and cover it in 10 minutes. Less 4 or 5 minutes if we can have an interaction. I thought let me cover 3 themes which are important from a technology in HR. Okay? And to introduce my first theme, let me tell you a story first. It's always good to talk about stories on a Saturday morning. So the first story is about a rich farmer who has a vast tract of land, but he is not educated. So he thinks that, behind my back, the world always makes the fun of me. So I don't want my son to go that way. My son is never going to grow up the way I grew up. He is directly going to go for education. He will get the best of agricultural technology training, and then only I'll allow him to come to the farm. So wait, the son goes, studies, he is now a master's degree holder in agri-tech and whatnot. Then the father proudly takes him to their vast field and they are standing near the tree. And he asks the son, saying that, now based on whatever you have studied, tell me something about this tree. So the son looks at the tree and he says, look, the way the tree is slanted, the way it is getting sunlight, the way the leaves are slanted, and the way I see the moisture in the soil around, I don't think this tree will bear good mangoes this year. So father is very impressed. He says, that's absolutely right. The only little fact is that this is not a mango tree. Many a times when we talk about the technology, we get lost so much into what's happening in the tech world and the trends and stuff like that, that we forget that if you miss the context and if you miss the purpose for which you are going to use technology, any amount of technology is actually not going to make any sense. In fact, you can get completely lost in it. And many a times, I see people almost getting stressed that I need to be in a high-tech area or I need to be seen cool. But what's the purpose it's serving is what one has to ask. And if you're applying technology to HR, there are very simple 3 questions I always recommend to people. First is that, and what I'm going to do is that I'll cover these 3 themes, and very briefly, what we are trying to attempt in my company, I'll share that with you, and I'm very cautiously using the word attempt, because that's what it is. The 3 questions that I'll always leave you with is that when you're adopting technology, or when you're using technology to do anything, what problem are you solving? Whose problem are you solving? And how do you know that the problem is solved? I mean, if you really ask me, without making it really complicated, if you just ask yourselves 3 questions and make the most native technology first work. You know, the trick about using the technology is that spending more does not mean you are solving the problem better. And that is the thing that all of us need to understand extremely well. Those of you who would have read this iconic book of Zen and Art of Motorcycle Maintenance written by Robert Pirsig, he gives a very beautiful example. He says that my friend had a BMW bike, and one day its accelerator was not working. So I said, I can fix it with a shim. So he said, okay, where's the shim available? He said, no, shim is available right here. So he said, I broke the Coke can, and the inside, the smooth part of the Coke can inside is the shim, the best shim you can get. So my friend got extremely horrified, saying that, are you going to touch my BMW with a trash can, with a Coke can? No, I'll take it to the service station. They will fix it. So he takes it to the service station. They, in a nice plastic cover, they get a shim, which is exactly the same material. And then they fix the BMW, he is happy. Many a times, this is what we get into when we talk about the technology. So your first theme is that ask yourself these 3 questions. What problem are you solving? Whose problem are you solving? And how would you know that the problem is solved? Now, if you really ask yourselves, you will not get waylaid upon technology. The second thing that I want to talk about is that technology never fails. Technology just never fails. It's the user experience which makes it successful or failure. And to give you an extremely crude example, in '93, I worked for an IT company and we had a product, and it was basically, we were a market leaders in the cooperative banking, for example. And banking itself was, computerization in '90s was new. And especially the corporate banking sector was a little less on the adoption of technology. So we used to implement our product. And we used to get the calls saying that your software is not working. So then our engineer would travel all the way 2 hours there. And then they have to very politely tell somebody out there, saying that, sir, you have to switch that on. And the realities actually sound fancier than fiction. But this is what I have lived through. I've seen this happening. At that point, you can't ridicule them that you are doing some ridiculous thing. There was a lot of fear about using technology. There was a lot of fear about can the technology take away the jobs. And that users, if they do not perceive the technology is for my benefit, technology can add some value to me, the users will kill technology. And that is what happens in the most of the places. So technology never fails. What fails is this whole process of change management, this whole process of user acceptance. So when you are talking about the technology, the first theme that you must always remember is that, again, those three questions, and say that who is getting impacted and how do I address it? Because if you do not really solve that problem, the world's best technology solution also can actually land you in trouble. And the third piece is that we talk about the technology, and the technology actually impacts a lot of HR jobs. The way the HR jobs would get impacted is not funny actually. So those of you who like reading, I would recommend a book which was written by an ex-Forrester analyst, and that book is, if I remember the name right, is Invisible Robos in the Quiet of the Night. That's the name of the book, and that book specifically talks, giving a lot of data about how artificial intelligence is impacting the job market, and which kind of jobs will reduce or which kind of jobs actually will go up. And the crux of that matter, when the author writes about, is that what are the kind of jobs that will go out? So what he says is that it is not those robots that you see physically are that much dangerous to the job market. They are not going to take too many jobs. But the robots, and that's why he calls it invisible robots in the quiet of the night. Those robots are sitting on the servers. Okay? Those robots are doing the process automation. And then the author actually gives a very beautiful chart saying that which kind of jobs will go away, which kind of jobs will go up. And there's some bad news for HR people, and there is some good news for HR people also. What kind of jobs will go away is typically the jobs which are repetitive, which are unidimensional, which are coordination oriented. They all can be taken over by machine learning. Simple. If something is done repeatedly the same way, that can easily be fed to the machine learning, and the machines will take over one day. So those jobs will be taken over by machines in a very simple language. What is difficult for machines to take over is anything that requires a cross-domain knowledge. That, okay, I'm an HR person, but I understand my business extremely well, and I solve my business problem using my HR expertise. Now that is little difficult for a machine to take over as the technology is now. And that is what really saying. So in a nutshell, from an HR professional point of view, it is not good enough to just know your subject, know your domain, and follow that. You must understand the business. You must understand the nuances of the business. So in my own career, when I was a CHR of Zensar long back, at a point of time I realized that this is void, and sometimes I am understanding it only theoretically. So I actually went and did a sales job for 3 years. I did a P&L for 3 years, so for 3 countries, and that really gave me a better understanding of HR. Now, to give you a simple example, in my mind, attrition was always a percentage number, and I would have that in my target as to attrition management. When I went and started managing operations, I suddenly realized that in the customer account where we have 10 people, that 1% is so critical that if that 1% goes away, my entire account can close. So I can't be happy about 10% attrition. So these are the realities sometimes you realize. So for HR friends out here who are starting their career, it's extremely important at a point of time. Develop your expertise, but at a point of time, take a cross kind of an experience, and that is important. Now these 3 themes, one about the context and purpose of why you are using technology is important. Technology never fails, but it's the user experience that fails. And the third is that artificial intelligence, machine learning is going to impact HR jobs in a big way, which are repetitive, which are unidimensional. Now, what we are doing in my company, Persistent, and what we are attempting to do is what I will talk about, and then I'll stop because I'll be on the top of my time by then. The first thing we did is that what is the purpose statement for us? And so we said, okay, making Persistent a phenomenal place to build life. The moment you take that as a purpose statement, then we say, what are the 4 guiding principles? So we will have simplicity, transparency, accountability, and care. Now, anything that we do in terms of our technology implementation or solutions, actually we check out, is it helping us to make things more simple? Is it helping us to make things more transparent? And by and large, the good news is that technology does make a lot of things by definition transparent. Are we going to make people accountable? And are we going to really care? Is it enhancing our care quotient for the people? And I'll give you a very simple example. Anybody who is joining always has a butterflies in a tummy. It does not matter whether you're joining as a trainee or as a vice president. So we are in a process of creating an experience where a person can literally do a self check-in at her or his own time, can do a whole lot of exploration about the company before joining, and all that technology is available in very, very clear ready-made stacks today. So you don't have to do much for that. You just have to choose the technology that we have. And we had implemented a system of records without realizing that many of the facilities are actually available in the system licenses that we have purchased. So we are actually monetizing that system's licenses to make this work. So there are multiple things. So that is one simple example. The other thing which we are doing is saying that, okay, can we bring in more transparency in our system? So we are creating n number of dashboards which are user friendly, which people can see themselves, managers can see themselves. Many a times I am fighting a very weird battle where some manager is saying that I want a salary fitment for this person and I want to give him a big picture. But when I try to give him a big picture, he says, no, this is my business requirement. Don't give me gyan. So I have stopped giving a gyan. I just give him a dashboard today, saying that this is your dashboard. This is how your costs are looking out. You are recommending this. You can play the simulation and say that how you are. So do your recommendation by your. People's egos are also taken care of. People don't recommend when they realize their recommendation is ridiculous. But once they recommend, even if the recommendation is ridiculous, they will stick to it. And that's what the human ego is all about. So technology actually solves a lot of these problems. The second piece is again user experience, what I talked about. So what we are doing is that with all due respect to the HR fraternity and this thing, we are no less than technologists in using jargons. You know, we can actually throw competency framework at anything, actually. And people look at us in a very dazed manner. So we have a very robust competency framework, which really is mapped to our career architecture. Everything is there. But predominantly it is still in the HR language. Okay. Now, if I have to say somebody that you have to go from position A to position B, you have to improve your competency on influence. And that person looks at me, what exactly is to be done? And how would you measure my ability to influence? Honestly, sometimes we also don't have answers, so we give them more jargons. So what we have started doing is that, saying that why at all HR people should be doing a career counseling, saying that, you know, having these basic dialogues as to where my career should be. So today, and everybody is developing the bots. I mean, bots is a hygiene factor today. So the bots that we are developing are the bots which actually ask you a question in a very colloquial language, in a language that you understand. Oh, would you like to travel? Would you do this? Would you do this? And then, by the way, now looking at this whole pattern, maybe you want to choose this career stream. Now, if you choose that career stream, why don't you take a self-assessment? It's all very respectful, private, personal. The person does not need anybody to talk to him, and the entire thing is built in a person's own lingo rather than building it in a competency-based kind of a language. And that is something which is the other. And the third thing is that I started asking questions in my own team. For example, we completely moved to the ticket-based system. Okay, if there is a HR support which is required, and many organizations have that. There is nothing unique. But when we moved the ticket-based system, the way the team was composed, we always had L0, L1, L2, the levels of the team members. And I asked somebody, what is this L0 people are doing? No, they are going to allocate the tickets. I said, why should somebody do that job? Can't system do that job? A system can. I said, then let system do. Because you are actually having a team member whom you are not adding value to that person's career. So don't have the job. So we have started cutting those jobs where a job can be done by automation or this thing. But what we are also doing is that we are actually, this year we have taken a theme, we do our planning, which we just concluded for the entire business planning. And it is complemented by the HR planning. So we have taken a simple theme called DIY, do it yourself. So everything in HR that we do, we are just playing to the theme called do it yourself. If you are a manager, do it yourself. Your decision support system is being placed. If you are an employee for your career, do it yourself. How do you do that? And in that, the whole idea is not to cut the HR jobs. The whole idea is that you are human resource managers, which means can you have more time to have quality dialogues with people rather than managing transactions. Sometimes we say that we want to do strategic HR, but we are very comfortable with transactions because transactions take away a lot of your time and you feel very busy. The moment you take away the transactions, there's a vacuum and you actually wonder, what am I going to do? So you just can't leave people in the vacuum. People also need to be trained about what should they do in a new scenario. So if you really work on these three themes, why are you implementing technology? What's your theme? What's your purpose? Are you factoring in the user experience when you are doing anything in HR technology or any technology for that matter? And the third thing is that how are you configuring your HR teams, taking into account where the jobs are going to get very heavily impacted in HR itself? How are you reconfiguring your team? Because cutting down the team size is the most foolish thing you can ever do. That is not cost saving, according to me. Because when somebody is working with you, there's a lot of native wisdom which is there, which is very, very, very difficult to replicate. Okay, so if you just follow these three themes, I think you will keep advancing in technology when it comes to HR in any phase. And when it comes to technology, we will all always be work in progress. Never ever assume that we have arrived, because by the time you get that feeling, there's something else which has come up, which is staring at you. So I hope that helps, and I will stop here because I'm exactly at the top of my time. But thank you for this opportunity. Thank you to share dais with such dignitaries. And thank you for your patience in listening. Thank you.
Sir's insight on HR tech trends were truly impactful. Thank you, sir. Next on the DS, we have Sri Mahendra Inge, Head of Serum Institute of India. With a diverse educational background, including a diploma in business management, an MSW in HR, and a short-term course on strategic resources from IIM Ahmedabad, Mahendra sir brings a wealth of knowledge and expertise to the table, from transforming greenfield projects to establishing robust HR frameworks in multinational organizations like Skoda Auto. His commitment to promote TEST, which means technology, execution, speed, and teamwork, proves his dedication to drive organizational excellence. It's a privilege to have you amongst us, sir. I would now request Sri Jagdish Kadam to felicitate Sri Mahendra Inge. I now request Sri Mahendra Inge to address the gathering. Over to you, sir.
Good morning, and I thank IMDR and Advait for inviting me here, and also thank Mr. Kadam and my colleagues for accommodating me here. So I think Yogesh has given fairly good insights on the technological impact, technology and its impact on HR. If you will ask me, see, I've been into manufacturing for last 29 years. So technological, how technology has evolved over a period of time as compared to what you have in your IT sector or ITEs is completely different. The intervention of technology in HR is relatively lesser as compared to what you have in IT business. However, if you will see the overall evolution of this profession, see, this HR as a profession evolved in early days with a welfare officer with a limited requirement of under Factories Act that you have to have a welfare officer. And from there on to where we are today, I think it's a phenomenal change. And I think a lot of times we tend to be a little scary how it's going to happen when we listen speeches from people like us. Nothing happens. I think we humans are trained to adapt, and we definitely adapt to the new technologies, whatever come. I'll just give a couple of examples on HR processes. When I started my career in the year 1995, I think if some people, those who have worked on the shop floors, probably they'll be able to relate it. There used to be a time office, and that time office, and I started our Godbole Bhai Sahab, he used to have the leave cards. Leave cards were in different colors with him, and he will ensure that every leave is passed, and then he will record it into the leave book. That was quite a job for him. He used to be the busiest person at that point in time. But then, you know, as we moved on, and there itself, we decided to get into the attendance system. From the cards, that too, we were not sure the workers will take it because unions are adamant on certain things. And our role comes where, you know, unions you have to deal. And you have to take them on board before taking any change, any major change. So that's another dynamic to what we are doing. So finally, we could convince union to please accept this, and the time office system was accepted. There used to be punch card. So proxy punching, we used to give lot of show cause and terminations happened even because they used to do the proxy punching. Limited point is here that we have evolved today, that today if I remember my early days, there was one plant of refrigerator manufacturing, and from there, if you look at Serum, where we have 17 buildings and 36 manufacturing areas and 8,500 people working, you imagine if you would have worked with the similar kind of technological intervention. So there are only 2 time office people, and they control entire 8,500 attendance system flawlessly, because systems have evolved during the period of time. So, and that's true with every HR processes. I remember I started on DOS and Foxbase while I was at Skoda Auto. It was a greenfield project, and I got my Foxbase based payroll developed through one of my friend, and because there was nothing while we started this, and we were 100 odd people, and then we have to finally run the payroll. So from there on to today, you imagine the kind of transformation that has happened. I think there are, for these 10,000 entire Serum Institute people, there are 4 people, they are doing entire payroll. You imagine if the way processes have evolved and technologies have taken over quietly without disturbing. And most important thing, lot of times, as Yogesh was saying, why you are doing any change, why you are bringing any reform. Lot of times we HR professionals, we want to show off that we are different than the manufacturing and the other people, and then we want to bring in something which probably will never be accepted. So we have to bring in all stakeholders on board and then bring in the reform. Otherwise, any reform, technological or any reform, that's going to fail. So most important thing, bring everyone on board and then make any changes. So similarly, the performance management system, erstwhile performer, we used to print the forms and send it to the departments, printed copies, to today's online assessment, that too competency-based assessment, and I mean, those things, they happen in a month time. Can anyone imagine this technological change? The HRIS, they have evolved over a period of time. So I think we adapt, but we as humans, we adapt very fast. You don't have to be really scared of any change. Only thing is you have to keep an open mind. Because today, I cannot imagine, because there was no Excel. Lotus 1, 2, 3, from there to today Excel, this journey is phenomenal. The kind of data that we are able to manage because of Excel, I think that's a change, and all of us have adopted to it. So we also adapt, and one thing, you see, the lot of attraction to the IT HR jobs. Nothing against, but then my one suggestion to youngsters especially, you see, in manufacturing sector, we contribute 15% to the GDP. But any developed country, and we are already on the path of being a developed country. So the share of manufacturing into the economy is not less than 25 to 30%. So there is a phenomenal scope for increase into the jobs available. So along with your tech savviness, I think you should hone your skills on industrial relations, because all said and done, they are going to be the reality in coming days to come. As long as there are going to be inequalities in the societies and everywhere, the industrial relation is going to be the reality. So please hone those areas. You see, my friend, our colleague Yogesh, Sujit, he is an alumni of IMDR, and he is one of the finest industrial relation professional today, I can say. He is currently based out of Bombay, and looking after the sales HR. Because into sales, you recruit a lot of medical representatives and whole lot of things. They have their unions. So he has both plant IR exposure and now the domestic sales business. So point is, you must upgrade yourself on technological part, but there is a huge potential into other areas also. Please explore that. Don't restrict yourself, because you know IT building में if you go to any automobile or engineering की plant, तो मज़ा नहीं आता वहाँ जाने के बाद. But if you go in any IT building, मज़ा, that you feel very nice. If you are a young, अरे यार यहाँ काम करना चाहिए. But if you go to any dusty plant, तो लगता है यार क्या यार कहाँ पर नौकरी कर रहे हैं. So, but then there is a lot of potential there. My suggestion to all of you, please explore this option also, and don't worry, we human beings definitely adapt to anything that new comes in. So rest be assured, things will be fine. So as I told, in the course of time, the people have adapted to the new skills. The same time office man is today trained for looking after the computers and HRIS and monthly reports and everything. So adoption hota hai. Don't get scared. Have great time, but only keep an open mind, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Those words were truly inspiring. Now I request Professor Gopa Das to announce the awardee of the Emerging HR Leader.
Thank you, Manas. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests and esteemed colleagues, I am thrilled to share with you a moment of great pride and celebration. The recipient of the IMDR Emerging HR Leader Award for 2024 is Mr. Sachin Aute. Under the aegis of IMDR HR Summit 2024 themed HR Tech, The Next Take, in collaboration with OHR, curated by Upohan, Shri Aute has emerged as a pioneer in the realm of human resources. Shri Aute, who currently serves as the Deputy General Manager of Human Resources at Cummins Generator Technologies India Private Limited, has demonstrated exemplary leadership, innovation, and strategic foresight in his role. His outstanding contribution to integrating HR technologies have not only elevated practices within Cummins Generator Technologies, but also set a benchmark for excellence in the HR community. So please join me in extending our heartfelt congratulations to Mr. Sachin Aute on his remarkable achievement. I request our chairman, Shri Jagdish Kadam ji, to do the honors and give away the award to Mr. Sachin Aute. Thank you, sir. Over to Vaishnavi.
Now it's the time that we dive into the fascinating interplay of AI and HR, a point of view session. I request Ms. Akanksha Sane to join me on the stage. I take the opportunity to introduce her to you. Akanksha Sane, a powerhouse HR leader with over 23 years of experience building high-performing teams and fostering inclusive cultures. Her journey spans through esteemed global companies like Merck's Lines, WNS, and Tech Mahendra. And currently, she is leading HR delivery for India at PTC Software, a champion for diversity, equity, and inclusion. Ma'am's leadership led PTC Software to be recognized as one of the 100 best places for women in India for 4 consecutive years. We are happy to have you amongst us, ma'am. Now I request Dr. Abhijit Shivne to felicitate Akanksha, ma'am. Thank you, sir. Ma'am, I request you to share your point of views on AI and HR. Over to you.
So I have a small probably my slides will just summarize what some of the esteemed gentlemen here said. So let's just take a look at those slides, and then we can, get to some talking. Yes. Do you have a clicker? Morning, everyone. I hope I'm okay. I'm not, so I am now. Thank you. All right. So thank you so much for coming here, and I am also honored to be here, part of this IMDR Summit that's been organized today. And I'd like to thank the staff and Mr. Advait for having me here today. So we've been talking about AI, ML, and so many other new technologies. However, I think without delving into what these technologies can do, I don't think we need to worry about too much, right? So with that, I'd just like to share some numbers with all of us. And I think these are not new. You must have read them. You must have seen them all across. But I think one thing that stands out is this point, which, I'm sorry, I'm not able to use the pointer, but if you see, by 2025, AI might eliminate 85 million jobs, but create 97 million new ones. So that's a net gain of 12 million jobs, right? So at the end of the day, it's going to create more and more opportunities and avenues for people. And I think India will drive, the change here. India is the powerhouse that people will be focusing on. So I think even as HR professionals, we need to get very, very comfortable with the idea of technology and what we can and cannot do, right? If you look at it, 81.6% of digital marketers think content writers' jobs will be at risk. So yes, it does bring risk, but if we are, not ahead of the curve, we will definitely be impacted. And I'll just give you one example. Very recently, we were in my organization trying to solve a sort of a business problem. I have two leaders who can't work along together, right? They're at loggerheads. There's a lot of conflict. And their leader approached me and saying, what is it that we can do? And we obviously can't use AI there, right? So there has to be something different. So until and unless we know what problem we are solving, we don't know whether we can apply that technology or not. Yeah. And I think 33% of consumers think that they are using AI platforms. So all of us as consumers, right, we are using some platform or the other. And I think there's a lot of comfort with using technology today, right? So with that, I think I will just move on. I think very important from the HR standpoint is the global adoption rate for AI is 21%. Today, I think in all your organizations, or at least for the students who will be getting into other organizations, there will be something or the other that AI would already be established. It's in fact right from your hiring processes, right? So if you're hiring people, there is a very remote chance that you would still be going through the traditional way of hiring, right? You're mailing your CVs to somebody, and then somebody's scanning through the papers, and then then shortlisting. All of that doesn't happen. There are systems to do that job. There are decent algorithms who do the job. All you get is a shortlist, right? So hence your CVs today need to be able to what? They need to be able to go through that filter, right? So the way we write CVs today is also going to be different, okay? So that's how I would look at AI again. And in HR, like if you look at some of the research that's been done, Mercer found that 58% of employers, okay, plan to use generative AI, right? And that's not very ahead in time. That's just around the corner, right? Next quarter we will be in June 2024, right? And if you look at what Eightfold does, and Eightfold is a recruitment platform, a very state-of-the-art technology platform. I have the opportunity to use it in my organization, and it has so many brilliant features that it really helps save time for the recruiters. It's so much more user-friendly for the candidates, for the hiring managers, etc. And what AI is saying is that, what Eightfold is saying is that 70% of the leaders that they surveyed, are already utilizing AI, right? So today, like I said, some of the HR processes it's very, very unlikely that we are going the traditional way. We are obviously going to be using technology. And where all are we seeing this technology seeping in? Like I said, recruitment and hiring is the easiest and the fastest and the biggest, where it will have an impact. Onboarding, and onboarding, I'll also give an example. Actually, we do something at pre-onboarding stage. Once the candidate has taken up an offer, we use my own company's software platform, which is called ThingWorks. It's an IoD platform. And all we have done is put in let of templates. We have put in some dates. And we have put in some information about the company. And bingo, the tool does everything else. It'll send out regular updates and communication to these candidates to keep them warm. Right? So it obviously is saving a lot of time for our recruiters, who are, by the way, not free. They are doing some other things. Right? And hiring managers know exactly when to reach out to the candidates, how to keep them warm, et cetera, et cetera. So we're using technology to solve a business problem. Okay. Retention, I think, tasks automation, I think these are all, already there. Chatbots, I think many organizations are already using, right? Ticketing systems, so many of us are using. Now, what do you do with these ticketing systems? When the queries come in, are we really using it to our advantage in some form or shape? We must, as HR, we lack, or sometimes we don't use data as often. Right? So look at ways and means, how you can use this ticketing system to make your processes, systems, user experience better. And I think user experience is something which will differentiate, which will be a differentiator in the future. Many of us work in organizations which operate similarly or are in similar businesses, but it will be the user experience that will drive candidate behavior, etc. So that's how I look at it. I think simple pros and cons. I think one thing I'll probably talk about is the ethical dilemma here. And as, professionals or as the eyes and ears of the organization, I think we need to ensure that we are doing a decent job on ethical dilemma. There was a report, I think, published by World Economic Forum sometime back around risks, the biggest risks that we face. And number 2 was AI. Number 1 was climate change. And many years ago, we wouldn't have thought climate change as a big, ticket item, but today it is a reality, right? So likewise, AI too, has the potential to go either ways, and it's up to us on how we want to shape it and use it. Yeah, so in my view, I think AI is a friend at the moment. I don't see it as a foe at all. There's just so much that it can do for you. It is an aid, right? It's an ally. It's up to us on how we want to use it, what we want to shape it for, and how we are supporting our businesses in the long run. So that's how I think we should probably start looking at technology. The more we embrace technology, the more we understand, and the more problems we can solve, but the more creative we can get. Right, so I think technology is not going to solve complex human problems. It will solve your complex processes. But for human problems, it is human intelligence that we have to rely on. So do not sacrifice human intelligence in the name of artificial intelligence, right? So that's it from me. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the deeper dive on AI and HR, friends of foes, ma'am. I would now like to invite Shri Ashok Bildikar to join me on stage. Shri Ashok Bildikar, founder, chairman, managing director of Niyamo Enterprises Solutions Private Limited. I request sir, with over 4 decades of experience in technology and outsourcing, Ashok sir has developed his expertise to become a distinguished entrepreneur and innovator. Under his strategic leadership, Niyamo has emerged as a trailblazer in providing global payroll technology and work solutions to multinational corporations worldwide. His journey is marked by transformative initiatives and notable achievements, including the establishment of PeopleSoft India Service Center, acclaimed as the most successful build, operate, transfer engagement in Asia. His extensive experience in setting up offshore center of excellence for prominent organizations underscores his ability to drive impactful change and deliver results. He also holds a master's degree in management from Symbiosis Institute. Now I request Dr. Sonali Khurjekar to felicitate Shri Ashok Bildikar. I now hand over to Sir to share his point of views on AI and HR Friends of Four. Over to you, sir.
Good morning, everybody. And I would like to thank all my panel colleagues, all the people who are attending Saturday morning time. Always important time for everybody as a family. But still, I think you people are coming here and spending time. It's a great thing. Like Mr. Kadam said that he is the odd man out. But I think I have to repeat same thing. When I looked at the panel, almost everybody is from HR space. I am the only odd man because I am not from HR, but I am more from technology space. Incidentally, I worked for more than 40 years in HR technology. So that is my closeness to HR rather than working HR professional per se. I think HR technology, even today, globally is dominated by American firms. If you look at it, almost 80 to 90% of a global large organization use softwares which are coming from a very small area called Bay Area in California, either Workday, SuccessFactors, Oracle. You would have heard these names, but these are the global system of records, and they are the one which are being used in almost all the global companies. I had opportunity to work with almost every one of them. I worked with quite a lot of a large global organization, and I realized that there is a gap because all these companies who have developed this HR technologies, while they are American companies, the development is done by Indians. Okay, so I was intrigued by this, and I said, why not we develop such a global HR tech company from India? And that's the inspiration with which started Niyamo 15 years back. Touchwood, it's very successful. Today we serve more than 300 Fortune 500 customers across the globe. We service around 125 countries across various customers. And incidentally, I was just looking at it, but apparently the award which you gave to Sachin, Sachin, I think is not, he's gone, no? Okay. But Cummins is our global customer. Okay. So that grade of the customers globally, right now we are deploying our platform for them in Africa and Latin America. But what is important is HR technology per se is always evolving. And this year, I think everybody is thinking what's happening because of the AI introduction. But see, is this one I have to press? Yes. Okay. So I just wanted to give perspective from tech perspective rather than HR perspective, because most of the speakers are talking to you from a HR perspective. I will give you what's happening in tech world from tech perspective. So if you see every technology, every new jargon which we come out into the market, whether it is blockchain, whether we talk about data analytics, we talk about AI, we talk about ML, we talk about NPL, we talk about every year we come out with 3 or 4 word, and then we create a hype around it, And this is called the hype cycle of a technology, which has been published again by a Gartner. Every new technology which comes in, they publish that technology's hype cycle. And what we have observed over the years, every technology buzzword which comes into the marketplace always goes through a hype cycle. Okay. Now, today if we are talking about AI as a primary topic, but AI is a many times misunderstood word because it doesn't work alone. Along with that, there are other technologies like machine learning, it has NLP, it has many other component technologies which work in conjunction with the AI to actually create a solution. So if you really look at it, today we are on the peak of the hype. That means over the period, actually, you will see the downward trend in the AI. Okay. I don't know how many of you remember, but 3 or 4 years back, everybody was going to say all banks are going to close down, everything is going to happen because blockchain has come, right? Now, do you hear anything about blockchain much? Is blockchain work is happening? Yes, it is happening, but it is happening under the radar, and it might come up because now blockchain has gone from peak to the valley, okay? And then it will stabilize and it will start growing. Similar to that, we expect even in AI, because AI is at the peak level now, it will trend down, it will stabilize. There is lot of work happening. Just to give you a little bit of a different perspective, how AI works. So prima facie, there is something called large language models, okay, LLM, and you should know this if you are going to go in any place, interview or discussion. LLMs are the base models which are created by industry based on which actually the AI works. So first LLM came into the existence by OpenAI. That is what we talk about, ChatGPT, okay. ChatGPT is built on LLM which was created by OpenAI. Is the only one LLM available? That's not true. Okay. Now every country, every big players are creating their own LLMs. You talk to AWS, you talk to IBM, you talk to Google, you talk to China. China is building their own LLM. So what is happening now? The LLMs are like a infrastructure. Mr. Kadam is in road. What they are doing? They are building the roads. You know? But ultimately on the roads, when you are going to travel, you are going to get benefited, correct? So LLMs are actually the infrastructures which are getting built, and as LLMs become stronger and stronger and stronger, your actually AI will fine tune. Now, if we say that LLMs are infrastructures and they are still getting built, I don't know how many of you have done something on ChatGPT? Can you raise hands? Fantastic. Do you get correct results today? If you want to know last month what has happened in ChatGPT, will it give you a response? It will not, because ChatGPT's LLM model is 2-year-old. Okay, so it cannot tell you what's happening now or what can happen recently. Okay, and that's a weakness of a LLM models, because LLM models required to be trained with the latest data on ongoing. It is a big kind of a workload. If you see today, NVIDIA shares have gone above even the Google. The reason, you know, because the NVIDIA is bringing the newer hardware and newer chipsets which will fast track the build-up of the LLMs, and that is the one thing because of which their share prices are shooting up. You know, so LLMs is a base foundation infrastructure that is building. It is not yet done. Okay. Next thing, if you will see the other news, and you can either do a ChatGPT or Google, there are around 60,000 startups have started working in AI side. Okay, 60,000 in last few years. Bulk of them are still in USA, very less in India, 1%. Our attempt is to see whether India comes up with more AI startups. But the reason for that is these startups are seeing now roads are there, okay, I can do a business on those roads, correct? So it's a infrastructure is there, now can I do something and take up the opportunity? So what happens with this startup? Can they access the LLM directly and they can create a business model? It cannot be, okay? So there is something which we call as a foundation model. Okay, so between the LLM model, you create a foundation model which is specifically addressing a small set of a issue, and on that you create a AI software which is dedicated for a specific purpose. Example, I was looking at it, there is architectural AI which has come up. I don't know how many of you have seen, but phenomenal. In a sense, you tell that I have 3,000 square feet of a space in my flat and I want to have 4-bedroom house. It starts flashing you different 2D designs. if you don't like it, next, next, next. And if you say, I like this, just click on that. It gives you 3D model of that. And if you say, I like that 3D model, or you did not like, it will give you the next version, next version, next version with all the things. And once you say yes, it creates all your structural drawings, all your necessary things which is required for. So what has happened with that? What is the job role of architects? Okay, so we talk about whether jobs are going to be there, whether the friends are for, but see, issue is these are the 60,000 startups now are using these opportunities, are creating the softwares which will eliminate certain type of jobs. Okay, and it is not necessary, like I would like to pardon with the other people who were talking, it is not something just repetitive. Even the complex problems which we could not solve in the past are going to get resolved. I'll give the simple example. In my company, we work more than 125 countries payroll. And payroll is one of the most complex software, and that is the reason for last 75 years, none of the global tech companies could solve that problem. And why it is complex? Because every country compliances which integrates into the payroll are very, very complex. It is changing all the time. Take India, you have ESI, you have minimum wages, you have child labor, you have so many acts of the HR which affects actually the payroll and recruitment. Correct? So what is happening now, to knowledge of ever-changing compliance rules globally, to monitor and track and make sure it is deployed and customers are serviced for a particular compliant solution, it is very complex. So for us, doing that is very complex. But if I take help of AI, now that becomes much easier. Right? So we have deployed the AI already in the areas where we track all global compliance. So we have all the, our software, basically foundation model, extracts data from all the government sites, creates a foundation model, and any change happening, any compliance anywhere, we are able to flash it within a second. So our team knows they don't have to worry about, oh, somebody from Uzbekistan is going to tell us that there is a change in the labor law. We don't have to worry about it. So I think there are newer problems which we never thought that could get resolved is going to get resolved by this technology. Okay? So I think there are areas where this technology is going to help. If you talk about HR technology is vast. There are so many opportunities, and I would like all the students who are there who have to think differently from the technology perspective, they can create opportunity. I'll give the simplest example. HR does, and all my panelists who are the HR, they do the HR survey to take the pulse from the all employees, correct? Now, typically survey will have questions which has either yes, no answers or kind of thing. But there may be generally, most of the survey has one open-ended question that give your feedback. Okay, where you can enter the text. Now, if you enter a text, and I think my colleagues from the Wipro are here, if you have lakhs and lakhs of employees who are given the text answers, can HR go through all those texts and determine what is happening in the company? It is impossible. Okay, so there are things like we have something called sentimental analysis, which gets done onto the, so you don't go through those answers directly, but you do sentimental analysis and say that, okay, these are 1,000 employees who have a issue with the company, and that's what they have mentioned. Now you know, instead of going through several lakhs responses, I need to focus only on possibly very few where I can now address, correct? So I think the technology is emerging. Areas in which we can create opportunity in HR is phenomenal. HR tech per se is, if you, sometime I will come and do a broader lecture on to this topic, but I think there are more than 80 to 90 separate downstream application within HR, which we call as HR tech. HRIS is only one, okay, which is we call as a system of record, basic frame. But around that, there are hundreds of HR applications which requires to fulfill the needs of a small to complex organization. When we are going becoming and servicing a global organization, needs for that organization completely changes, and that's the advantage. All of you can, if you're working in HR, you will know where are the issues, where are the problems, where are the opportunities, and possibly look at that opportunity, look at what is happening in technology, use the strength of India, that is we are #1 software developers, and create a startup and rule the world. My goal is that why only US should have tech ownership, you know? Why not it comes to India? We are the first company possibly in enterprise global market. We could create a software which is being used by all the global companies now. We are of course very tightly partnered with the Workday, SuccessFactors, Oracle. We directly integrate their data into our systems to do all the performances. But I think it is very, very important for all of you to understand and see part of the technology which you can use in the future in most effective manner. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your great views on AI and HR, friends or foes. Now we delve into the fascinating world of generative AI for HR. So today we have among us Ms. Dipali Dewaikar. I request you to join us on the stage. It is our honor to introduce her to you. Ms. Dipali, an accomplished HR leader with over 17 years of experience driving organizational success across diverse regions such as India, the US, Europe, Middle East, Africa, and Asia Pacific, specializing strategic business partnering, talent management, leadership development, and transformation management. Ma'am is currently positioned as a HR business partner at Veritas. She plays a pivotal role in supporting the growth and transformation efforts of strategic engineering business units. With extensive hands-on experience in HR management and a passion for nurturing individual growth and organizational performance, she is a valuable contributor to this HR Summit dialogue. Ma'am holds an MBA degree with dual specialization in HR and marketing from Pune University, showcasing her commitment to excellence in her field. Having worked with leading IT companies such as Capgemini, FIS, and Sears, Ma'am brings a wealth of expertise and insights to share. Ma'am, it's our pleasure to have you here today. Now I request Dr. Shweta Jain to felicitate our guest. Thank you, Shweta ma'am. Now I hand it over to ma'am to share your point of views and leveraging generative AI for HR.
Good morning, everyone. I would really like to thank IMDR College and Upovan to have me here, invite me over here. Really appreciate it. So I would like to start with sharing my thoughts on my understanding of what Gen AI is. And when I started to read about it a few months ago, I realized that I was mistaking it as advanced automation and then was unable to differentiate it between automation or differentiate it from automation. But Gen AI is not automation. And let me explain it to you with a simple example. So because the topic that I have today to share my views with, that is leveraging Gen AI for HR, it's important to understand, I think, what Gen AI is. And when I deep dived into it, it was very confusing for me. It's quite technical. And I thought that I'll try my best to explain to it in as much layman terms as possible with as much examples as possible. So imagine a calculator that can perform basic arithmetic calculations such as addition, subtraction, division, and multiplication. And I still need my notes because I still find it quite technical, this Gen AI and AI and ML stuff. This calculator is a form of automation because it automates repetitive and predictable tasks such as calculating numbers quickly and accurately. However, and I think I need to move to the next slide. Oh, sorry, this one, yeah. Yeah. However, the calculator can only perform the task it's been programmed for and cannot adapt or learn to new types of calculations. Now think of a math student who not only knows how to use a calculator, but also learns new math concepts, new problem-solving techniques, and strategies for tackling different types of problems. This math student represents Gen AI because, unlike the calculator, it goes beyond mere calculation by continuously learning, adapting, and improving its skills over time. So it becomes intelligent over time. Just as a math student becomes more proficient and versatile with practice and experience, Gen AI becomes smarter and more capable as it learns from data and interactions with its environment. I hope this small example helped you with understanding Gen AI in a much better manner. So Gen AI actually goes beyond basic automation by exhibiting what I call as innovative intelligence. So take, for example, a simple process, say in recruitment. You form the JD, you write the JD, you source resumes from the market, you select the resumes, you pass on a few resumes, select resumes to the manager selects a few resumes, and then interviews are scheduled, interviews happen, a candidate is selected, and then the offer is made to the salary negotiation happens, offer is made to the candidate, and the candidate joins, right? If you try to simplify this process, the repetitive parts of it, it's automation. But if you try to put intelligence into it, if this process, you try to put much more, you use this data from this entire process and make some intelligent outcomes, decisions, that is Gen AI. And so it's very important to understand that innovation is a very, very crucial and important part of Gen AI, all right? So this means that Gen AI systems are not only capable of performing tasks efficiently, but also generating new ideas, solving complex problems, and adapting to changing environments in creative ways. Innovative intelligence also allows Gen AI to drive innovation, discover new insights, and create value in ways that traditional automation cannot. So I'd like to read the simplest definition that I could find on Gen AI, and I hope it simplifies it further for you. Gen AI refers to the idea of next generation AI systems that are highly advanced, intelligent, and capable of learning and evolving much like humans do. These AI systems not only understand and respond to human needs, but also have the ability to improve themselves over time, becoming much more efficient, creative, and adaptable. Gen AI signifies much more than just technological advancement. If you look at automation, it's data plus technology. Like I said, Gen AI is much more than that. It is innovative intelligence, yeah? But it's just not that. When we start thinking about Gen AI, we have to think about it as a mindset change. It's like a literal cultural shift. We have to, like I said, when we look at the recruitment process that I just listed a few seconds before, we have to start thinking in terms of what is it that we can do differently so as to derive much more value from the process. Yeah, and that is where innovation becomes very, very important. That is where the culture shift comes in. That's where the mindset change comes in. So adopting Gen AI requires organizations to view Gen AI not merely as a tool, but as a collaborative partner in innovation and growth. So Gen AI, when you use Gen AI, it gets in data from different sources. So there's a lot of collaboration that is happening. There's a lot of breaking of silos that's happening. And that is why it's a cultural shift. It's a mind shift. It is just not a technology adoption or a change in process that happens, yeah. This shift entails recognizing AI's potential to transform processes, enhance decision-making, and create opportunities rather than simply optimizing or automating existing operations. It involves breaking down silos, promoting trust and transparency around AI technologies, and embracing a human-centric approach that prioritizes diversity, ethics, and inclusivity. Implementing Gen AI also demands a cultural shift towards fostering experimentation, collaboration, and continuous learning within the organization. So imbibing innovation into culture becomes very, very crucial. Moving on, let's talk about how to imbibe innovation into culture. Sorry about that. I guess the change in the weather is taking a toll on me too. So we can imbibe innovation into a culture is by encouraging, identifying, and recognizing innovation and providing resources and support. And this is my cue to change the slide. Innovation can be encouraged by fostering culture that values creativity, curiosity, and experimentation, where employees feel empowered to explore new ideas, talk about new ideas, and take calculated risks, where failures are also celebrated, not just successes. Yeah? Identifying innovation by actively soliciting and listening to our employees, their ideas, providing platforms for brainstorming and collaboration, and creating channels for open communication and feedback. Companies usually have hackathons and stuff like that where, employees submit their ideas, they do projects or do POCs and stuff like that. And this is how you can encourage innovation or an innovative culture in the organization. You can also do by recognizing and rewarding innovation, by acknowledging and celebrating successful innovations, whether big or small, through formal recognition of work programs or rewards or incentives. Also important to provide resources and support for innovative initiatives, have innovation activities, like I said, a hackathon, and have dedicated time, funding, access to training or mentorship programs, help employees develop and implement their innovative ideas. It is important to hire, engage, and retain employees with innovation who have innovation as their inherent strength. And who are these people who have inherent strength? Oh, my time is almost up, or up actually. Wow, I'm really going very slow. So let me speed it up. So individuals who are like really innovative, their strengths are like, who are very curious, who challenge the status quo, who seek opportunities, who are problem solvers, and who basically like to, who are very creative, think outside the box, and so on and so forth. And if we want to have an innovative culture, then we should have more of these people. I would like to take probably one example of where we can leverage Gen AI in HR, and I wanted for you to understand Gen AI very nicely, because once you understand the concept, you'll be able to understand where all you can use Gen AI in HR. Imagine a hiring assistant in HR who follows a set of processes for screening resumes, scheduling interviews, and sending out offers. Or I'll take a simpler example. So imagine you're a decade into your career and feeling a little bit stagnant. And if you had a personal AI mentor for professional development, and it could help you explore questions like, what career path should I pursue? What roles exist within my organization? How can I prepare myself for the next level role more effectively? So it's not even just telling you, you know, what kind of roles exist within your organization, basis your skill sets, your strengths, what you're good at. It tells you what kind of roles are there in the organization, how you can prepare for them, how you can become better at them, and stuff like that. So it not only just proactively suggests courses, provides insights, but it empowers you to take charge of your career growth. It's like having a knowledgeable companion to help you navigate through the ever evolving job market and make informed decisions about your career trajectory. And wouldn't that be cool? So there are many use cases in HR where Gen AI can be leveraged. What does it mean to us? Does it mean that our jobs are going to go? I don't think so, and that is what my view is. It is only going to augment what we are already doing. A lot of the things that we right now do, which takes a lot of our time, that time will be reduced by Gen AI, and it will just give us more time to do the strategic initiatives or the work that we have always been wanting to create bandwidth for, and that is good news, I think, for all of us. What we need to do is to ensure that we are ready for this change, we adapt to this change, and keep our eyes on what HR was truly made for, which is to enable our customers to do their jobs properly, to enable the businesses to function, and enable the businesses to be successful. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dipali ma'am, for the wonderful insights. Moving on, it's a pleasure to have Mr. Samir Gadgil with us. I request him to adorn the dais. A seasoned professional with nearly 24 years of experience shaping high-performing teams and fostering inclusive workplaces. He currently heads HR at Wipro. This strategic role allows him to directly impact the organization's trajectory, aligning people strategies with overall business goals. Previously, he led HR for digital operations and platforms, managing the entire employee life cycle and building a strong talent pipeline. He also served as a Pune location head and trustee of Wipro Cares, demonstrating his commitment to community engagement and social responsibility. Sir's impressive 6 years of journey as a global head of compensation and benefits at Wipro, where he established effective reward structure and championed diversity and inclusive initiatives. He has also held leadership positions in the renowned organizations across various industries, gaining valuable insights in the business landscapes. On behalf of IMDR, we welcome you, sir. Now I request Professor Gopadas to felicitate sir. Thank you, Gopa ma'am. Today he will unveil how to leverage generative AI for HR. Over to you, sir.
Good morning, everyone. I hope I am audible. Yeah, so let's have a quick poll by raising your hands for some of the questions which I'll be asking. How many of you are receiving regular updates on Gen AI and its applications? Yeah, many of you. How many of you are meeting your business and technology executives to discuss about the Gen AI implementation in your organization? Again, most of you. How many of you are aware of your organization's conversation about and you are actively participating in implementation of these Gen AI initiatives in your organization? Some of you. And lastly, how many of you are aware of or unaware of conversations about investing in Gen AI? So how many of you are not aware that your organization is whether it's investing or not investing, and nothing is happening on this front? Okay, hardly anyone. Okay. So essentially this is an integral part of every organization's strategy in today's day and age. What it implies to us as HR professionals are around these aspects that you see here. I don't know whether the pointer works here, but not here. Okay, so there are 6 aspects in which Gen AI, and I think we already have the concepts around what all it intakes and it impacts, right? So be it on information collection, be it on research, be it offering insights basis the data, because data becomes really the core for any AI and Gen AI in particular to really throw up. It impacts automation, innovation as Dipali ma'am suggested, and of course decision making process. And from a HR perspective, be it strategic or tactical, it impacts pursuing new markets, enhancing your products and services, or even reimagining your products and services, improving customer experience or employee experience, creating unique knowledge, communication and collaboration, how to effectively communicate with your employees and stakeholders. And on tactical front, again, making decisions faster and better, optimizing business operations and seamless administration, which are essentially the repetitive tasks that we spoke of. Again, the spectrum of activities from planning to attracting to develop and engage our employees, you would see here that Gen AI has a potential to ease out easily 30% of our workload, okay, which we can invest into much more strategic, value-added and insight-driving activities in HR. Particularly on the high-impact activities which we all do as HR professionals, it will definitely impact employee communication, sentiment and engagement, which we spoke of. On the talent acquisition front, it's the big impact area. The shared services aspect, or the employee assistance programs that we may have, learning administrations, compliance administration and payroll, which we of course saw. So those are really high impact, and likewise there are medium and low impact areas of HR which Gen AI is impacting heavily. What I'm going to really speak more about are some of the actions which we have taken at Wipro, and some of the point of views and use cases that we have created. So, and as we heard Yogesh speak about what problem are we really solving, the 3 things which he said, thankfully I have also articulated it in those manners, so it kind of fits well with it. So when it comes to talent marketplace, the problem statement that we were wanting to solve was the legacy system, disjointed or disconnected people supply chain systems. Talent marketplace didn't have functionality of skill gap. So if I'm the hiring manager, and if you are the applicant, I don't know what skills are aligned where there is a gap, what kind of potential career paths that you need to really have in future, and a good visibility of my demand and supply engine in the organization. Because if I have to staff a particular project quickly, I need resources here and now. And how Gen AI is really helping us address some of these things. With the help of Gen AI, we have created an integrated demand supply which matches the skills of employees vis-a-vis the requirement. So if there is a requirement that comes in from the customer, we just port the JD into the tool. The engine also helps each employee create their own profiles in a standard manner, which helps the tool match against the job description and identify skill gaps. So it not only therefore throws immediate action items or alerts to the hiring manager that, okay, these are really direct fits, these are 70% fits, and these are maybe less fits. It also helps the employee to know where all they are lacking from a skills perspective. The tool also therefore throws specific learning interventions that they need to take, programs that they need to attend, so that they can bridge those skill gaps. So if not this particular requirement, maybe the next one, they stand a better chance. So the outcome of it is better utilization of our talent, better rotation of our talent. So if not from the pool of resources available on the bench immediately, from those who are billable and have spent a good amount of time in their current projects also can be pulled out, because we also have a rotation policy, so it helps us drive rotations effectively, and a real-time availability of what kind of talent pool we have. The second use case is around the virtual assistant for employee support. We again heard of DIY as one of the strategies which I think Yogesh spoke of. So how do we enable, and again the second, or rather the aspect that he spoke about is the employee experience. The technology never fails, the experience really fails it. So how can we bring in a tool or a system that addresses repetitive, tedious tasks of employees in a seamless manner? So what changed is a virtual assistance that takes care of the typical activities which every employee is required to do. So be it filling their timesheets, so you don't have to go click 5 different links to reach your timesheet page, select multiple drop downs, how many hours you have spent, and things like that. You just open the VNow, which is our employee assistant tool. You just type out there that, okay, on so and so date, I spent so much time on learning, so much time on project related activities, so much time on some other customer presentation, and just hit enter, and it will fill up your timesheets. Or if you want to apply for a leave on a particular day, you just type it out there, and we now would do that. Or if you have to schedule your travel, you just mention the date, from and to, and your preferred airlines, and it will help you with the bookings of that. So it eliminated a lot of complex navigation which every employee had to do, and of course saved a lot of time for them, and more importantly enhanced the employee experience in the whole process. The third use case is on AI conversational help desk. So first, the earlier one was a virtual help desk, now this is a conversational help desk. So here a bot would actually speak, because again when it comes to immigration, so we send a whole lot of employees every month, every quarter on site for multiple assignments. So handling some of those immigration related issues is a fairly tedious work. So we have created a conversational help desk where a bot actually speaks with the employee to understand their issues, their concerns, what documents they have, what documents they don't have, and respond to them on a real-time basis. So the L1 query resolution is consistent, and if there is a higher level of issue, then it comes to the actual immigration desk where someone like us would address it. But we have seen that more than 50% of the queries that employees have get addressed through the chatbot itself. So what changed is the AI-enabled conversational agent enabling all the travel and immigration related support. It improved customer satisfaction, cost savings, and of course the efficiency of the whole process. Recruitment, I think we have heard it throughout the day today. So many number of examples that we have seen. But one thing which we are still not gone live with, which, and I alluded to it earlier, that you upload a JD, you upload the candidate profile or our internal employees profile, it will show you the skill gap mismatch. What we are also now developing is a tool that will throw up first level technical assessment questions. So depending on the job description, the technologies that the candidate is supposed to have worked with, and looking at their own CVs and their experience, what kind of technical questions the first level interviewer should ask, with the answers also. So, and the next level of evolution would be a chat bot itself doing that, a conversational bot rather, not chat bot, a conversational bot doing the first level of assessment and then giving it to the technical recruiter for a final validation of that. Right, so that's still under progress, but what is currently done is resume parsing, your skill gap creation, which is largely around automation. The Gen AI part is yet to kick in, but that's in works and should happen sometime this year for sure. That will also throw up a whole lot of simplification in our internal process and efficiency that gets delivered. Documentation, summarization, context and information extraction from the shared services again becomes a fairly critical activity, and this is a larger initiative which we are running. What I have pulled out here is very HR specific aspect. So every customer engagement has a master services agreement, which is the core contract. And then there are statements of work or SOWs which we build on the master services agreement. And throughout a very complex, multiple hundreds of pages of that contract, which our legal team does the best job of keeping it as complex as possible. Getting the HR person to read through it, to understand the nuances of it, or even a delivery person to understand what are the compliances they need to, or the SLAs they need to adhere to. This bot will throw up a very simplified version of things that they need to know, they need to adhere to, and they need to report. Okay, so on all these three parameters. So one of the key HR related aspect in every MSA is the background verification of our employees. And be it a banking and financial customer or be it a government customer, the requirements on BGVs are fairly high for both these kind of customers. For healthcare, retail, consumer, transportation, these sectors, the requirements are relatively lower. Or in a digital operations or BPS kind of business, the requirements are even more higher because they are running the customer processes. So depending on the requirements, what kind of BGV checks we need to have in place for this particular customer is something which this particular bot will throw, and it will create a specific instance of BGV on the system, which the recruitment team needs to just trigger. So there are multiple instances of BGVs that we create. There are general BGV instances, which is meant for anyone in the organization, and there are very specific BGV instances. So the bot will create that kind of instances for this particular customer, and it will automatically trigger those checks. So that level of automation this particular tool has done for us. So the average time spent per MSA has gone down significantly, therefore, for the hiring team in particular to adhere to the BGV part of it. And the last one is around the talent productivity indicator. So we hire a lot of campus freshers, right? We call them next gen associates. Now, and we put them through a 3-month-long PRP, as we call it, project readiness program, where we teach them various kinds of technologies, align them with the corporate ways of working and all of that. And after all of this, they still spend on an average about 60 to 90 days of time on bench, not being aligned to any billable opportunity. And that's a big waste of time, cost, and everything, right? So how do we make them productive from the day they are available? And that's really a very critical aspect when it comes to our productivity, margins, cost efficiency, everything, right? So having a predictive AI tool for account level demand projections. So it goes down to, and there are, let's say in Pune itself, we have some 400 customers that we service out of Pune location. So for each of these customers, what kind of demand projections I am going to have for next 3 to 6 months? That's that level of nuanced output this team gives, so that the campus hiring team will keep those resources ready. What kind of technologies they need to be trained on, and all of that is really done. So that helps us doing a better campus utilization, reducing our bench, and delivering better margins at an account level. So those were a few used cases. But as we tread through the entire Gen AI, there are clearly challenges that we are dealing with. The biggest of them all is data privacy. And with each country now coming up with their own privacy laws, including India, there is a very critical aspect of where the data really resides. We have global servers, they are on clouds. Now, I cannot have the employee information for a European employee sitting in Singapore server. Now, how do I therefore run these processes where data is across the globe, but still the tool has access to it and can throw in efficient output, yet being compliant to the laws of the land. Protecting this data is therefore critical to maintain the trust and compliance, be it with respect to GDPR or CCPA. Employee acceptance becomes a big challenge, and we heard about the sentiments with respect to employees feeling, well, not so much from a delivery organization perspective, but certainly in functions. They may feel that what happens to their roles, be it our hiring team or HR business partners for, and even on technology front, some of the traditional, like testing was a big unit a few years back with tens and thousands of employees. They would do all kinds of testing of the code, which is now completely, so that skill now is no longer really sought after skill at all, right? So fears of job displacement, mistrust, and therefore communicating transparently and creating that democratic availability of data becomes critical. Quality and reliability of data. So again, garbage in, garbage out. So how well we maintain our data, both from an employee records perspective, but also from a customer and their delivery records perspective. Because if all these tools are going to sit on our core, be it SAP or whichever system, and they'll pool that data in, how can good quality data be fed into it so that we really get the best value of this? And biased data, the second point there is again very important, because many times, and that may happen inadvertently, we may not know whether the data that is being fed is biased or not, but the output that we will get may impact somebody's sentiments. So how can we have that level of checks? And regulatory compliance, of course, as I said, anti-discrimination law, labor laws. So this is a big area that we still continue to grapple with. It's a journey, and it will continue to evolve itself. So those were really a few things which I thought I'll share with you. I hope you found them insightful. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for the informative insights. I request all the experts of point of view session to join me on the stage for the Q&A round. I request Ms. Akanksha, Sane, Mr. Ashok Bildikar, and we have on stage Dipali, Dewaikar, and Mr. Samir Gadgil. We are now open for question and answer round. In case you have any questions, please raise your hand.
Hi. My name is Shishir, and my question to Akanksha. You have been using a bit of technology in HR. You have also seen the trends in technology, how they have come and they have gone by. 3 basic problems that you would want AI to solve from HR perspective or from business perspective, based on your your experience, because now you know the ability, what it can do, and probably what it cannot do, right? So based on all that, all those insights, what are the 3 very crucial problems that you would want AI to solve?
Okay, the first would be user experience. How can I get a better user experience for whoever is using, that kind of technology? That's the first. Second is, I think, money. It has to be making sense. I think some of our eminent speakers earlier covered, what is the problem you're solving? How are you solving it? What kind of costs or efficiencies are required, and what is the outcome that it will bring? So that's also important. And then I think third would be, whatever you're trying to do, it has to be futuristic. You're implementing technology, it should be there to solve your problems for the next 5 years at least. So having some view in terms of how it can be scalable, how it can be used across, various lines of businesses, etc. So I think that's what I would look at when I'm looking at technology.
Yeah, good morning. I'm Kaustubh Joshi. I have a question for Ashok sir. I could fairly understand the LLM concept which you just mentioned, the large language modules, right? Okay, so I'm working for a product startup, tech startup, and I could relate to when it comes to IT product, a hardware product. But when it comes to a IT software, I need to understand who are these LLMs? Are they subject matter experts, or if you could just throw more light or give some more examples to understand for a IT software setup.
Sure. I think LLMs are built by bulk of the large company. For example, Amazon right now is building 2 LLMs for different reasons. IBM has its own LLM. Google is building own LLM. As I mentioned, OpenAI is of course Microsoft now, which is also enhancing their LLM. There are countries like China has started building their own LLMs. So these LLMs are like a basic infrastructure for your IT products. But what happens when I'm talking about around 60,000 startups in AI side, they cannot directly work on the LLM. They will be able to use the LLM, but what they have to create something we call is a foundation model, because LLM are the public information. Okay. But sometime when you are resolving the business problem through a startup for AI, using AI, you may require along with the public data, you may require to combine that with the organizational confidential data. Okay, let's take example of Wipro. Now, Wipro has its own employees' data, which will have, that will not be available in public domain. But now you want to have the AI model to solve that, then you require a LLM plus foundation model data to resolve certain business issues which comes up. Right? So foundation models are latest, they are accurate, and they are private. They are not exposed to the outside world, because they keep the track of, like GDPR has a lot of what I call is governance compliances by country. Actually, today we have the highest challenge when we operate in the global environment, and one of the area where I think Indian institutes are lagging is that we do not have education on global side of the HR, which is emerging, which is in need, But if you look at it, when we went to China, we faced a huge problem. When our infrastructure is hosted in Frankfurt, which is to take care of GDPR, but Frankfurt infrastructure cannot be used in China. China doesn't allow a single employee information to move out of China. Right? So if AWS is not present in the China, is a big issue. Okay? So I think what requires to be done is on LLM, further you look at foundation model, and then you solve what kind of a problem you are trying to solve with your set of customers. It can be for hardware companies, software companies, or any other industry. You zone down on the that area, and then you can create a AI solution by using the related technologies, because AI is a prima facie learning technology, but which uses the machine learning inside it. But there are related technology, like we were talking about conversational AI. Now, conversational AI is again latest one, but if you want somebody to converse in Marathi, then your NLP with conversational AI comes into the play. So natural language processing is a separate technology that goes along with your AI, creates actual conversational AI in your own language. All right. So today there are number of, as I said, hundreds and thousands of startups who are taking this opportunity, because if you really look at it, all global angel funds, venture funds are now getting diverted towards AI funding. So there is huge money available. Only people have idea, opportunity, and they want to work on it. It is possible. And I think companies like AWS, if you go to the Amazon, they are promoting to use their LLMs. So if you say that I have this idea, Amazon themselves will like to work with you, partner with you to bootstrap your, I think one of the lecture talking about these companies who can support you. So companies like Amazon can actually, on Gen AI, they will give you all sort of things. For example, when we were building a prototype, Amazon assigned 4 experts from USA for our prototype to go successful at no cost. Because they are also interested that how the newer and newer opportunities gets converted into the AI.
Thank you, Ashok sir. Very insightful. Great question. Because of that, got to hear so much. And thank you for all of you for so many insightful details. I have a question for you, Mr. Gadgil. When you explained the journey that you talked about at Wipro, how did the other part of change management or the culture impact, or because DIY is a whole new thing, right? Like we are used to doing things in a particular way, and we have to change our mindset to doing it in a different way. And that's the culture change, which is much larger. So could you throw some light on how you manage that?
So I think the biggest contributor to this journey was our employee surveys that we do, right? So so just again to give the context in post-pandemic, okay. So in last 3 years, or more than 75% of our employees are less than 3 years in the organization. So they don't carry the legacy of Wipro, and therefore cannot relate to the organization the way some of our the historic employees are really there. So their feedback is relevant, and we cannot therefore continue to see things from our point of view, where we have seen that, look, 10 years back or 20 years back, this is how we were and this is where we are. Wow, we have done such a fabulous job. But the person who has joined us in last 2 years doesn't see it that way. Right, so we have this concept of 30, 60, 90 day in the first 3 months of joining, where there is a formal touch point which captures what went well, what didn't go well for them. And then there are regular check-ins, so we call it feed forward, where every 6 months there is a feed forward session which manager has to do with their employees, and they have to necessarily log it in. And again, going by the example that we saw, all this feedback really goes into a tool which throws the word cloud. That what are the highlight or the overlying feedback really talking about? Is it with respect to the speed of working? Is it too much of control and governance that we have? Okay, take this approval, go here and do this, or cumbersome processes, or all such feedback. And that has really helped us create this charter around the transformation journey that we have been through. Just to give some insight, in last 2 to 3 years, we have simplified more than practically every HR policy in the organization. It's very different from what it used to be pre-pandemic. So literally now, pre-pandemic and post-pandemic are two phases of the organization. It's a transformed organization that we see now. And I think therefore communicating, going back to your question, communicating back to the employees that your feedback in action is really the most critical one. So they don't see these changes coming to them as a surprise or something which the senior management has decided and therefore it's being done, but something which we had recommended and it's being done. And these regular check-ins really help us get real-time feedback from our employees.
I have one question for Ashok sir.
Okay, then I'll go.
So, sir, while you mentioned about payroll, being managed, and also how, the system pulls in data of compliance. So my question is that with respect to compliance also, do we have, some systems in place where, this can be managed? Also considering because there are the laws which are also changing very frequently, and I'm not too sure how frequently or on a real-time basis are the, the government sites for, the labor ministry or various departments updated. So do we have a solution for this, or, any thoughts, how do we really handle, such situation? Because managing compliance is a, big thing these days, yeah.
I think one thing all of us must understand is bulk of the government, I would say 95% of the government across the globe are extremely proactive, okay, because they typically will put any compliances at least 2 months in advance in a public domain, okay, because they know unless that is informed, people may not be able to follow. We may think that, okay, we are doing this, for example, my company place, we are doing for Malaysia kind of thing, we don't know, but they have to communicate to thousands of organizations in Malaysia, right? So to get the deployment, that happens. So what we do is we have track of almost all the government sites across the globe, around 150 countries, and we daily track what changes are happening in any of those sites. And that data is fed to the AI to bring about what changes of the compliances which might affect. And these compliances, of course, in payroll compliances are hard, because if you don't follow, huge penalties, and there is a big problem. But there are, even in HR, labor law, there are softer compliances which you need to do it. So we have a compliance technology which manages all global compliances across the platform, across the towers within the HR. And what we can do is that we can also keep the HR informed that if you lapse this compliances, what is the severity? Because what happens, certain compliances you can deal with it by just paying a fees, Some places it goes as severe as your company director goes behind the bar, So I think HR is area which is very, very dangerous for the owners of the company, okay? Because if some lapse happens at the lower level of compliance management, even the management can go, I don't know whether you're aware or not, for example, PF non-payment rules are extremely tough, if at all Vijay Mallya goes behind the bar if he comes to India, it is under the PF Act. Because he did not pay the PF for the air hostesses to the government, and that is a severe, right? So I think understanding compliances, impact of that and way it happens, but there are ways and means. But this is one source. We don't depend on one source. We have in 107 countries, I have employees your primary job is to keep us informing about compliance changes. Okay? So what we do, we triangulate our customer community, our employee, and our AI. All these three triangulate because we cannot take a chance in the managing compliance across the globe.
Thank you, sir. I have one question for Mr. Gadgil. Since you are also a compound and total rewards expert, and you've also worked in the area of, Gen AI. So my question to you is that in an organization, typically we will have, people of different, at different levels of performance. So high performers, average, or maybe not so great performers. And we may have to have differentiated rewards for them, which could also be dynamic and could also change with time. So does, Gen I also take care of it, because it's important to keep the morale of the employees high?
So far, no. A plain and simple answer to your question. But more than Gen AI there, I think that's really where the personal connect really matters a lot. And again, going back to what we heard from Mr. Ashok is how well we keep ourselves aligned with the market practices across the globe, and particularly for a global organization like ours, we do have these feeds coming in regularly for every country, and we within HR have now created a team that will evaluate the relevance of our policies, be it with respect to compensation and benefits, or even general policies on an ongoing basis. So it's not a one-time activity that, okay, this year we'll do a refresh of all our policies and next 5 years we'll not look at it. So it's a real-time thing that happens. So just to give an example, we revised our benefits for both India and US, which are our two big geographies, twice last year. On one on leaves, and second on our this one. Yeah, for the 401k. So so these are therefore real-time changes that we keep on doing. But so far, I mean, Gen AI is not over there. It's more the feed that we get of market practices.
Okay, I have a question.
Sorry, if I may answer her question,
Yeah, I'll wait.
I would like to take a stab at it. There are very limited resources when it comes to giving away when it comes to total rewards, right? And it can be, you can be as creative as you want with it. However, and I wanted somebody to ask this question because I wanted to touch base upon it. Gen AI can be used for a very important activity, which is the performance management part of it. How you assess who should get it. That is a very, very, that is the area where Gen AI can help us very much a lot. Say you have employees, you know, how do you assess them? Right now, there can be, it is such a subjective process. You know, you try to make it as objective as possible. Still, there are so many problems. I think that's the most stressful and subjective process that we go through throughout the year, which is very stressful both for the employee and for the manager. The most stressful part for a HR business partner is right after the appraisals, when there are a lot of, you know, issues that come to the HR business partner and to the managers when they have to, you know, manage a lot of employees and issues that they bring up. So, but Gen AI can play a very important role over here, where from very different data sources, say the employee records, what the employee is doing, you know, is the employee doing compliances on time, and different sources that we can't even comprehend right now, consolidate from feedback coming from different stakeholders, consolidated reports can come in the form of intelligence to the manager and can come as a talent placement box and come to the manager as a report, you know. And the manager then takes a very informed decision which comes to him for all his employees, and it's all on constant or comparable parameters, not comparable, it's on constant parameters. So imagine how easy it becomes for the manager to do a fair and consistent job. And it also removes something which is that manager is God, yeah, but manager Bhagwan hai, manager jo bolta hai wo karna padta hai. I think that will reduce or it will go away. Imagine that world, you know, but the system always will have this way to there'll be always way to go against the system. As in, if the system says that this person is 9 box, but the system, we can always, the manager can say, no, he is not 9 box, he is box 5 because there's a behavior issue involved. That is where Gen AI will have a limitation. But at least it is somewhere recorded that the system said that this person is box 9, but the manager, because of XYZ reasons, put this person as box 5. And that is important. Is it getting recorded anywhere at this point of time? No. Right? And then, when you see who are these, when the system says that these are the top people, it becomes easy to, you know, distribute the limited resources that you have. Yeah, I hope it helps you with your question.
One last question. We'll take one last question from sir.
Thank you for giving me the permission. So I have a question for all the HR people in the panel over here. There's a lot of scope for AI to do a lot of stuff, and as HR professionals, we want to do a lot of stuff. But we have some challenges, there are some constraints. So I'd like to hear from each one of you, from Wipro, from Veritas, and from PTC, what is one of the top 10, one challenge that you face in implementing HR in AI in HR, and what support do you need from your leadership team, like from people like Mr. Ashok, to get this done properly? One top challenge in implementing HR in your organizations, from each of you.
So maybe I'll go first because I already had mentioned it in my deck, and the biggest challenge for us is compliance. Because the way AI really democratizes things in terms of visibility, availability of information, how do we make sure that it is regulated at the same time, and it doesn't land us into regulatory and compliance related issues, particularly when we have a global landscape to manage. So that for us is our single biggest issue.
Okay, so I think from my end, it's more about resistance to change. I think that's the most common, human psyche that we have. So whenever there is a change, there is always resistance. And how do you overcome these resistance? Because our workplaces are getting more and more complex, different generations, different backgrounds. It's just so more diverse and dynamic. So, resistance to change and how do you overcome it? I think that's the #1 challenge for most of the things that we do as HR. So, yeah.
I think for us, we are still into very early stages of, maybe a little bit advanced stages of automation and early stages of AI. You know, we have not even gone into Gen AI right now. And so even exploiting AI at this point of time for us is huge in terms of where we can utilize it. You know, those use cases are not very, very clear to us. How do we implement it? That is not very clear to us. And that is where we are struggling right now. I hope that answers your question. Thank you.
I'll just put few summarization point, but what you said is right. As I mentioned, hype cycle, it is early. So do not try to jump on AI bandwagon immediately. It will take a couple of years to mature the models and to get a better AI use cases coming into the place. You know, most important, of course, my suggestion to IMDR also is that change management is, while is one of the most important topic for the organization, it is very played as a low play kind of thing in bulk of the organization and even in the management institutes. So if you go to the top brand cases like LSC or HBR, etc., you will see that change management, there are full 2-year courses. So it's a very, very important topic, because handling any new initiative like AI or anything else, the change management, change resistance is the one thing which can make those projects fail, you know. And that is the reason the HR people who are now graduating from this institute, please focus, please read much more on change management. It is one of the, I don't know whether you know, but it is one of the highest paid job in the world today. Seriously, means if you are change management consultant, you are the highest paid person required by every possible global organization. You know? Thank you.
Thank you, experts, for the wonderful insights. Before we embark on our next session, let's take a refreshing tea break and network with our fellow HR enthusiasts. Let's assemble at 12:20 sharp.
Welcome back. I hope you all are refreshed and ready for more. Moving on, let's give a warm welcome to Dr. Vikas Joshi. Sir, please join me on the stage. Dr. Vikas Joshi, a tech leader with a twist, combining his passion for building cool tech with an even stronger passion for developing great people. He heads Harbinger Group, helping companies build awesome products, from his deep research on entrepreneurship to his engaging talks and writing. Sir empowers others to join tech revolution, whether you're building the next big thing or a leading team of tech wizards. His insights are sure to spark inspiration. We welcome you, sir. May I now request Dr. Sanmat Shetty to felicitate Dr. Vikas Joshi. Thank you, Sanmat sir. Today, sir is going to throw light on HR then and now. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. And is it good afternoon yet? I think it is good afternoon. So it's good afternoon. Good afternoon, half the audience that is left. Should I say you are the real committed ones, or should I say the ones that left are the real people who have work to do? So good to be here. I really enjoyed I told Samir I really enjoyed his talk. It was so informative, and he had such good use cases of how they were trying to use AI in their work. And also Mr. Bildikar's talk, because he's a technologist and a serial entrepreneur, so there's definitely some connection between us. And it was so good to see him educate us on AI and sort of cautioning us not to be falling for the hype, but at the same time be vigilant about where we could use it. So enjoyed both of those. And then, of course, the earlier speakers. Unfortunately, I missed Patgaonkar. I was really looking forward to his speech, but I unfortunately missed it. So anyhow, Advait has given me a topic which is approximately like retaining relevance in HR tech world. Now, you got to understand that I work with a company. The name of the company is Harbinger. I helped found the company. It's the world's #1 outsourced HR technology development firm. We have hundreds of engineers working on building software products for HR and learning. We cover the entire life cycle. Like Bildikar said, not just the systems of record, but the hundreds of little things that you need to do on the front end. Right from skilling, certification, credentialing, job portals, applicant tracking, recruiting, onboarding, training, coaching, mentoring, performance management, employee engagement, diversity and inclusion, compensation, benefits, right through to outplacement. We have built systems in all these areas for our customers who are basically HR tech companies. We must have built hundreds of HR tech products. So what does all this mean? The conclusion is that I and my company have contributed to creating the problem we have been discussing, right? How to retain relevance in a world of HR. So I almost feel like, imagine a criminal at the Yaroda jail who is on a parole, walking around MG Road, bumps into Kurlekar, and he says, would you like to do a keynote? We have a police station inauguration and award ceremony. Come talk about work-life balance. I feel like that. I'm talking to the HR people on solving this problem. But I'll set low expectations and make it a fairly short interaction. Yes, this is not a speech. This is a bit of an interaction. Now, you're all HR people, I'm imagining, but anyway, let's do a show of hands. How many of you are HR people? Okay, so over here in the corner, okay, you are safe. Most of you are HR people, right? So this is a little exercise that you have most likely done, because all HR people do it, but let's do it again, okay? Please do stand up where you are. It'll only take a minute. Just stand up, okay? Very simple. Men, turn to right. Men, turn to your right. Women, turn to your left. Women, turn to your left. Raise your right hand. Not raise, actually. Hold it in front. Don't sort of hit the other person. Maybe hold it like this. Okay? So far, so good? All right. You've done this before, but I'll do it again anyway. Close your eyes. Close your eyes. Okay, now in your place, just rotate any way you like until your hand, your right hand, is pointing to the north. Until your hand is pointing to the north, and do not open your eyes. You'll spoil the fun. Close your eyes. Keep them closed. Okay? All right. 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Open your eyes. Just open your eyes. Keep your hand raised and open your eyes. Look around. Which way is the north? It's all over the place, right? All right, sit down. So this is an exercise the HR type of people do. I don't know what it is all about. But I have a follow-on exercise, which is a thought experiment. That's in my area, okay? So the follow-on exercise is, instead of your eyes closed, if your eyes were open, what would you have done differently? And maybe raise your hand and get up and talk so everybody can listen. Suppose your eyes were open, what would you have done differently? Yes, ma'am. You would see what the majority of the people are doing, follow them. Okay, number one. Number two?
I would use the app in the iPhone compass.
You would use the compass app. Okay. Next.
I would stand still.
I would?
I would stand still. This is my north.
Okay, you would just say this is my north. Okay. Anyone else? Wonderful. So the point I'm making is the technology is right there in your pocket, right? You may not even need an app. All you have to do is open Google Maps. Google Maps has a compass. The compass will tell you what the north is. Okay. Now, how long did it take for you to think that I could use Google Maps? That's the test of technology diffusion. The technology is in my pocket. Right here. This is in my pocket. Think of this as HR tech. It's in my pocket. But has it diffused into my mind? To a point where in an exercise like this, I'm thinking, oh, if I could just open one eye and look at my Google compass, right? If that is occurring to you, you're getting closer and closer to using technology in your work. Suppose your company is about to merge with another company, and the other company is relatively smaller. Okay, it's an acquisition. Your CEO calls you and says, hey, we're going to acquire this company. Everything looks great in finance and customers and synergies and all that. I want you to go check out their culture. What would you do? Glassdoor reviews, very good. Glassdoor, very good. Go ahead. Anyone else?
Interview people.
Go and interview people. Okay, go and interview people. What else?
There's survey.
Design a survey and administer a survey. Okay, keep going.
Have lunch in the cafeteria. In their cafeteria.
Just go and sit there like a fly on the wall in their cafeteria and watch them. Check out the power distance, figure out the diversity. Try to get a sense of their culture. Right? What else?
Yeah, just spend time with them. Just spend potential time till you understand how things function in that organization.
Okay. Okay. And these are all great answers, okay? Yeah. They are all excellent answers. And they are all right answers. Once again, going back to the Google Maps example, if HR technology had seeped deep into your mind, you would say something like, let me use a culture inventory tool, run it on a small group within my company, so I know my baseline culture, my power distance, my diversity, and then go do the same in that company and see whether they are aligned. That would be one way you would think, right? So why does this not happen? We're going to go into that, okay? And that's partially going to answer this question we are here to talk about. But the key thought that I want to focus my little interaction with you on has three components. One is we need to think of reframing the problem that HR solves. Okay? What problem does HR solve? The answer are varied, right? Industrial relations, payroll and compensation and benefits, employee engagement, performance management, career path, acquiring talent. So you start looking at all these things. At an abstract level, is HR I hope that's not me. Okay. At an abstract level, what problem is HR solving could be largely clubbed under administration, glorified as business partner, and then with these nice little bells and whistles around in one worldview. But there could be another worldview, and we'll talk about that. Reframing what HR does, okay? Secondly, retooling yourself with new HR competencies, okay? There were some traditional HR competencies. For example, industrial relations, compliance, and they are very useful competencies. But then there are newer competencies that are needed. I'm going to list them, I'm going to talk about them. And you could take that list home. And the third is re-energizing yourself and adapt and thrive. And this is where technology comes in. So those are the three pieces. We'll start with reframing HR, okay? The traditional view of HR is what we talked about. But in the new view, I can think of two key themes that I would expect from my HR. By the way, my HR leader is Neville Postwala. He heads HR at Harbinger. And yes, that's usually what people say. They think he's Chinese, so they say, woo. Neville, the traditional view gets challenged when you realize that HR is two things that it wasn't traditionally in a knowledge economy. One is HR is a custodian of employee experience. You know, Samir talked a lot about employee experience. HR is the custodian of employee experience. And that includes the company's culture. And that involves all the touch points in an employee's journey, right from encountering the brand on Glassdoor or LinkedIn or Google, all the way up to retiring and joining alumni get-togethers. The entire journey has many little touch points, and it's through those touch points that you experience the company. And that experience is today in nobody's hands. Line managers are busy getting stuff done. Who's going to own that employee experience? It's HR, okay? And this is not very different from customer experience. You know, that you can buy exactly the same furniture as Starbucks and open a coffee shop, and the customer experience would be lousy. Why? Because the touch points are many, right? It's what you smell. It's how the baristas welcome you. It's the ease in which the menus are written out. It's the way in which they repeat it to you. It's the way they serve you. All of that together makes up the experience. So paying attention to employee experience and being a custodian of employee experience is going to be an increasingly important ask from HR. It's already happening. And I will break it down into specifics for you. The second is HR as a driver of organizational capability. Okay? The view of most line managers about capability is, do I have enough people to get this project done or to get this product developed? It's not long term. It's only HR that needs to be looking at long-term organizational capability and aligning it to strategy. If any of you has worked on or studied strategy in business school, strategy boils down to three key components. One of them is positioning. You know, how are you positioned? How, in the customer's mind, okay? Not in your mind. Number one. Number two is, what are your competitive dynamics? How are you priced relative to competitor and so on? And number three, which is foremost, is what are your capabilities? What are your distinguishing, differentiating capabilities that are hard to copy? Okay? And design for capability is not easy, it's far from trivial, and this is an opportunity area for HR. So this brings us to the question, all this sounds pretty exciting, but how do I do this? Does it even have anything to do with me? Right? So we're going to go right there. I'm going to start with employee experience. But before that, I just want to do a little survey here. And let me phrase this properly, okay? If there was an opportunity, you don't have to work for it. The opportunity is there. And if you ask for it, you will get it, okay? If there was an opportunity for you to become a CEO, not necessarily of your company, but a company, okay? Would you be excited about taking it? Raise your hands if you would be. Okay? So we have what, 60–70% people who are kind of intrigued and excited. Okay. Do you see even a possibility of that happening? How many of you see a possibility of that happening? A good number, 60%. Okay. Which brings us to the last question, and that is, do you see the path between now and then? How many of you see it? Raise your hands. Okay, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, about 10 people who can imagine a path between where they are and this place. Okay. So we've all heard of examples like, who is that? Chanel CEO, Leena Nair, right? She was a HR leader. And then, of course, Ian Mulcahy, older example, but the Xerox CEO. These are good examples of HR leaders who became CEOs of Fortune 500 companies. The first aspect, which is employee experience, requires a skill called design thinking. How many of you have heard of design thinking? Okay. Is it part of the HR curriculum? Okay, good. Now it's there. I'll give you a simple example. Most people in my company wear a swipe card, and it's held by a lanyard, right? All right. And then everybody's got this harbinger color, which is red, okay? However, for the first 15 days, the color is different. It changes after 15 days and becomes red. Why is that? Yeah, this is a new person, you know, at least try to be nice to him or her for 2 weeks, if not forever, right? Yeah? So that's an excellent, I mean, very trivial and probably done in many places, but an excellent example of design thinking, because this is the touch point that you are designing, you know, through manipulating the color of the lanyard. We do have these milestone celebrations. Somebody completing 10 years, 20 years, 25 years. We do have a celebration. That celebration ritual has a specific format. And Neville can tell you everything offline about it. But people look forward to it because one aspect of that ceremony is you bring your son, your daughter, your spouse, you know, anybody you like, mother-in-law if you like, and they all show up. And we all sit around and we all talk about this person. Mostly nice things, but sometimes fun things too. And the family just loves it, right? So this ritual is a design. It's designed to celebrate reaching a milestone. It's designed to really appreciate the family that helped this person reach the milestone. I'll give you another example. We are trying to put together a program, and we actually did one edition of it. It's called Teach the CEO. And the way Teach the CEO works is Neville sends out a mail to everybody, all at harbingergroup.com. CEO is ready to learn something new. Okay? Please send your nominations. And then usually, a bunch of people would say, I'd like to teach this, I'd like to teach that, and so on. Okay? So mostly something technical, sometimes a hobby thing or whatever. And they have 1 hour to teach me that. And the way it works is there's this stage, that person is teaching me. Okay? He or she is the teacher, I'm the student. And there's a bunch of people, mostly that person's friends, whom they're trying to influence, I guess, who are sitting in the audience just watching the fun. And hopefully learning from me how to learn, what questions to ask, how to clarify thoughts, how to repeat, how to listen actively. So it's really very well designed. So last time we had a woman from a little town called Sainik Takli. Has anybody heard of Sainik Takli? Yeah? This is Sangli, right? Kolhapur. This little town, everybody, like in every house, there's one soldier. So it's called Sainik Takli. And this girl is from Sainik Takli. She's a test engineer. And she was teaching me how to identify, anyway, it had something to do with identifying various types of blood cells in a given sample. And she had done an algorithm around that. It was incredibly fun, listening to her, asking questions and so on. Depending on what values and culture you want to emphasize, do you want to emphasize family? Do you want to emphasize people being friendly? Do you want to emphasize learning? Then these 3 were great rituals. But you may want to emphasize something else, and you can design other rituals for that. That's experience design. Okay? The second part is business strategy. We talked about that. And most important skill that you need for it is critical thinking. Okay? So the business has a reason to want to do something. Okay? Obviously for competitive dynamics reasons, for growth reasons and so on. But then how does that translate into the capability of the organization? And is it even achievable? And can I go back and say that, hey, here are our problems. We need to invest in capability in order to be able to meet these goals. I'll give you a perfect example of that. Anybody knows what ICICI Bank was called before it was ICICI Bank? Exactly, it was called ICICI. Now, Narayan Magul and KV Kamath, sometime around the turn of the century, came along and said, we want to become a bank. Now, earlier they were all B2B. They were extending these huge loans and recovering them or maybe not recovering them. And then they suddenly wanted to become a universal bank with ATMs and mobile phones and what have you, right? Imagine the transition needed to go from B2B to B2C in their employees. Imagine the transformation of touch points. In the old days, the touch point was like, okay, you need a loan, get this paper, get that paper. Now the touch point is like, please come take a loan, right? A total change of behaviors. I haven't met all the HR people at ICICI, but I had the good fortune to have interaction with Ram Kumar Krishnaswamy, who was their, not only their HR head, but he eventually became their executive director, joined the board, and also became chairman of their non-profit foundation and so on. Amazing person. And he launched a dozen different innovations, contactless payment, and I don't know, I lose track of all these things these banks do. But think about it, he was an HR person hired for an HR role and found his organization suddenly in the middle of this transformation, and he knew there was opportunity for innovation. So any one of you that has learned strategy knows that eventually when the strategy leaves the boardroom, it goes through a balanced scorecard, which means it flows through finance and then customers and then processes, and finally it lands in people, capabilities and innovation, right? And that's where this fraternity is, right? You are the wicket keepers, correct? And you need to do what you can do best, which is why in Harbinger, the top 2.5%, which is a real tiny amount of employees, go to an annual management meet, but our HR head is part of that. He has to be there with us, and very actively. There is an additional note I want to make here, which is about quantitative skills. It's important. How many of you got into HR because you hated mathematics? Okay. So I appreciate the candor, but, but I have to say that the data is here, and you have to be ready to design surveys, to design qualitative studies. I'll give you a simple example. In Google, around the turn of the decade, a bunch of technical engineers, and there was something like 40,000 at that time, complained that managers are micromanaging, they hate it. Okay? Now, when you have something like this, you cannot just go anecdotally because somebody is complaining. They brought in a people analytics specialist who designed a sophisticated quantitative study called Project Oxygen. And you can Google Project Oxygen and see what they found. One of the key findings they had was engineers hate to be micromanaged technically, but they love to be paid close attention when it comes to their careers. So they want that micromanagement when it comes to do this, do that, this is how you will advance, but not when it comes to technical work. This level of nuance is expected from each one of you. Not just say people don't like micromanaging. And to do this, you will need to design surveys and quantitative studies that would actually prove this. So this is something that we need. I come to the last part, which is re-energizing yourself. There are many different ways in which you could go from here, right? You could have many different career paths. Ultimately, those who adapt can thrive. And what happens is, in every organization, there are these half-open doors. As you're walking, there's a door which is half open. But you kind of look at it and then you keep walking. Then there is another half-open door here. You look at it and you keep walking. We don't bother to push those door opens, go inside and see what's going on, and there may be an opportunity for you there. I'll give you examples of such half-open doors. Corporate communication. How many of you participate in corporate communication? That's a half-open door. Another one, company branding. How many of you are involved in company branding? Working closely with marketing. Okay, very good. Customers. How many of you present to customers? Okay, so your leadership doesn't call you to present to customers what the supply chain looks like, where the talent comes from, what the culture is like. That's a big lacuna, right? I mean, the customers are ultimately buying knowledge work, and they want to know who these workers are, and only HR can present that. Okay, how many of you get involved in restructuring, organizational redesign? A handful. Okay, good. Finally, how many of you are called in meetings that seem to be business strategy meetings? Okay, so we have some very good example of the type of half-open doors that some of you seem to have pushed open, and the rest of you can try to push open. I don't want to believe it, but some people think that HR has a low self-image. I don't know where that comes from. At least when I look at Neville, I don't feel that way, right? So, in fact, we may have the other problem. How will you go about I think you will need to use technology to grow in that direction and push those half open doors. And the best way I know of making that happen is this. Give yourself an hour every week. Every week, give yourself an hour to re-energize yourself. Stop your regular work. Spend a few minutes looking at new things. Where can I use ChatGPT? How can I use pivots in Excel? How can I create a compelling data visualization? How can I design a good survey? What new HR and learning tools are on the market? What courses can I take online? How can I create an Instagram presence for the brand that I work for? How can I create a community online? Just raise your head and look around. Nobody is paying you for do this, but do it for yourself. That 1 hour will elevate your entire work to a new level and re-energize you. If you do this week after week after week after week, you would have started practicing non-stop renewal. And I love that phrase, non-stop renewal. Anybody who is in a software as a service subscription business loves this, non-stop renewal. Just renew our subscription, don't stop, right? This is renewing yourself. Okay. And then technology will not scare you anymore. Because anything, like somebody comes along, for example, Akanksha said, I think, eightfold.ai. Don't get scared, just write it there. When I have that 1 hour, I'm going to go to eightfold.ai and see what the heck it is, right? Mercer, okay, I'll go see what that is. Just keep doing that. So my parting thought is for two constituencies. The first is CEOs and leaders. I want to say something to them. And then I want to say to all of us here. For the CEOs, I want to just share that, you know, HR is a critical function. You know, they screw up, you can go behind bars. I mean, I understand all of that. But don't just treat them as people who should not make mistakes. You know, that's the admin view of people, right? Don't limit them to this machine that should not make mistakes. Think of them as people who can drive capability, have an impact on employee experience, generate insights, and if they make a mistake, okay, admonish them for the mistake, and the next breath you should be able to say, but tell me, where am I going wrong in my organization design? What am I doing wrong in my strategy? Treat them with the respect they deserve for the other part as well, okay? Second is my thought for the HR leaders, and that is that you need a new perspective for what HR is, a new perspective for what technology diffusion looks like, a new perspective for really the world around you. So I found this beautiful sher in Urdu that I'd like to recite before I go. And how many of you know the meaning of the word Jadid? J-A-D-E-E-D. Jadid. No, not Shiddat, not that either. Okay, so Jadid, the best way to understand Jadid is new. But then the nuance is something that has become new as a result of renewal. So perhaps the best translation for Jadid is modernized. Okay, Jadid, modern. Okay, now you can follow it. Okay, And unfortunately, I don't know the Shire. It's actually, I found it in a ghazal that Ghulam Ali has sung. पढ़े लिखों से भी चेहरे पढ़े नहीं जाते. पढ़े लिखों से भी चेहरे पढ़े नहीं जाते. जदीद शहर है लेकिन नजर पुरानी है. So it's not enough to do these courses on design thinking and so on Udemy, but you also need to read what's going on. Yeah? Thank you so much. You've been very patient. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your insightful talk today. Your knowledge and expertise were truly valuable. We are open to take questions if you may have any.
So you spoke about employee experience, and HR should own that. Absolutely understood. One of the realities is that an employee's significant experience at the workplace comes from their direct manager. And therefore, it's important for the manager to work and behave and treat the employee in a certain way so that the experience is positive and influenced. And it just so happens that sometimes people get to the manager role either by compulsion, not necessarily because they want it, and sometimes we have what we describe as brilliant jerks who become managers. And we have to then step in and try to influence either changing those brilliant jerks or removing them from their job as a manager. And it becomes difficult for business reasons. Just help us with your thoughts on how do we navigate that situation from a leadership perspective.
Thank you. How many of you relate to this question? Majority of you, right? Okay. Anybody's got an answer to offer? Anything that has worked for you? Maybe Samir? Okay, fine. So I can make my mistake and then he will correct. All right. So I think I'm going to just be rhetorical and I'm going to say that this is like the experienced designer at Starbucks saying that the barista has to do their job and customers will be happy. If the barista is a jerk, what can I do? Right? So you have an overall experience ownership. A part of it is how the manager behaves with the direct. And there are specific solutions for that. Those could include manager assessment, manager training, 360-degree. I don't have to sort of educate everybody on that. But more importantly, one of the innovations that we have done, we feel very proud about, is a system in which we record monthly one-on-ones between managers and directs. Polestar. And the format of the interaction is pretty simple. First 10 minutes, the manager has to shut up and just listen to the direct. 10 minutes. The direct will mostly say something which is top of the mind. Listen, forget. Next 10 minutes, tell the direct what's happening in the company. Give any positive feedback, give any adjusting feedback. Last 10 minutes, together, talk about coaching and development. What do you need to learn to get to the next level? And let's sign off on that. And then all this gets recorded to Polestar. We have a treasure of information because many of these one-on-ones are literally empty. And the conversation is like, we had this one-on-one at this time, and then it lasted for 30 minutes, and project was discussed, and this and that. You know it's a crappy manager, because there's no developmental discussion, there is no positive feedback, there is no adjusting feedback, there is nothing, right? So once you're able to capture textual data, you can work with it, and you can create these systems for continuous performance as well as communication management. Within 12 months, you can take out a report of summarizing all adjusting feedback. And there's nothing, and the manager says, you are the bottom 5%. The director is going to say, what happened? Last 12 months, not single negative feedback, and now I'm suddenly in the bottom 5%. Why is that? So you can still make life you can still shape the behaviors of managers through systems. That would be my point here. Okay, thank you.
So I completely agree with you. Yeah. And something which I also alluded when I presented earlier around feed forward as a process that we have in the organization, that is precisely meant for such conversations where it's not just the manager giving a feed forward of what went wrong and what went right, and therefore what needs to happen going forward, but also for the employee to give that feedback to the manager on exactly these three things. So what perhaps he or she was expecting from the manager, what went well, and what perhaps didn't happen for him or her, which the manager should do. So it works both ways as a feed-forward conversation, and that gets recorded, as you said, though not voice recording, but a textual recording. And on the point which you mentioned about the line yards, again, just a thought which happened. So in Wipro, we had 3 different kinds of line yards. The new employee gets a blue line yard, then after 5 years they get a red line yard, and after 10 years they get a green line yard, which we scrapped as a policy. So, and that policy was in place for some 20-30 years. And again, going back to the post-pandemic changes which we did, and when we heard the new generation of employees who have joined the organization, they feel that discriminating. They feel that just by looking at the line yard, you get to know the seniority of the person or the tenure of the person, and you therefore treat that person differently than me. And that was an overwhelming feedback that we got. We said, okay, fair enough. Loyalty is one aspect, and it cannot be judged by the color of your line yard. It's the contribution that you make. You could be a 1-month-old employee in the organization vis-a-vis a 10-year-old employee in the organization. It's the contribution that you make and the impact that you make in your role that makes the difference for the organization. So we scrapped that policy, and all of us have now only one color line yard.
Terrific. Great example. Thank you. Awesome.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir, for the discussion.
Pleasure.
Moving on to the next important segment of today's summit, which is panel discussion, I would like to invite Ms. Anagha Chaphalkar, Ms. Shruti Trivedi, and Mr. Advait Kurlekar on the dais.
Hi, good afternoon. You'll wonder who these people are and why are they suddenly on stage. So let me give a background before, unless you're going to give that background. No, okay. She's going to, okay, sorry. Okay. I'll shut off my mic.
Introducing Ms. Anagha Chaphalkar, Senior Director and Head of People Partnering for APAC at Cytel India. More than an HR professional, she is a strategic business partner, blending business savvy with an approachable style to enhance organizational effectiveness. With expertise in tailoring best practices, transparent decision making, team empowerment, and balancing business needs with employee engagement. She is a recognized leader for driving success in HR. Let's give her a warm welcome. I request Advait sir to felicitate Ms. Anagha Chaphalkar.
Thank you, sir. Moving ahead, we have on the dais Shruti Trivedi ma'am, Head of HR at Asim Infrastructure Finance Limited, a seasoned HR leader with over 18 years of experience in BFSI and NBFC sectors. With a knack for crafting effective HR systems and processes, she excels in policy creation and workflow automation. Yet, her true passion lies in fostering employee engagement and communication, cultivating a culture where talent thrives. From performance management to driving learning and development initiatives, and collaborating on strategic projects, Shruti ma'am is a valuable partner in achieving business success. I request Mr. Advait to felicitate Ms. Shruti Trivedi. Join me in welcoming the moderator for this panel discussion, Mr. Advait Kurlekar. I'll take a moment to introduce him. Mr. Advait has over 33 years of experience in industry, management consulting, and coaching. He has worked with leading organizations like Tata Motors, A. Ferguson, and PwC prior to starting Opohan Management Consultant in 2009. Sir has expertise in the area of business strategy, balanced scorecard, and HR consulting, and has led consulting projects across a range of sectors, including BFSI, engineering, automotive, retail, pharma, FMCG, hospitality, media, and advertising. Sir is a visiting faculty at SP Jain Global Center of Management and is also governing council member at TIE's Pune chapter. He is a certified independent director and is on the advisory board of various B schools and startup incubators like BHAU and SPPU Research Park Foundation. He is an alum of IIT Bombay and has studied at Wharton Business School too. I now request Professor Pritha Uppgade to felicitate Mr. Advait Kurlekar. Now handing over it to Advait sir to take the panel discussion further.
Finally, my moment on the day. Okay, so I think the reason why we are here on stage is what you see on the backdrop here. Along with this HR Tech Summit, IMDR also decided that they will start and build a property called the Emerging HR Leaders Award. And we worked with the faculty of IMDR, and we identified criteria around which the awards would be given. As you can perhaps, I don't think anybody can read, but there were 5 areas in which we wanted people to sort of talk about what they've done. Innovation in HR practices, HR transformation, change management, actual implementation of an HR tech, given the summit is about HR tech, and anything if they have done in terms of conflict resolution. And we got a large number of applications. IMDR set up a screening committee, they did that, and then these 2 wonderful ladies and 1 more person actually who couldn't come today, Maitri, they were the external jury members, and they went through what I believe very serious kind of presentation rounds online with the applicants, and they finally agreed and decided on the winner, which we felicitated in the morning, and which my colleague Eklavya is going to talk with the person later after this. So meet the jury beyond what their profiles is. So we give them a round of applause.
I think one introduction of ours, we are alumni of IMDR. Yes, I think.
That was one of the criteria. Okay, so maybe Anagha, I'll start with you. Take us through the experience at you as at an individual level about this entire jury process, and what kind of presentations you went through, any high point, any low point, or maybe we leave that for Shruti to say.
Yeah, sure. First of all, this was being done for the first time. So we were aware that there would be a few things we would need to put in place. So when we saw these 5 areas, Shruti was quick enough to just say, hey, you know what, let's just have an evaluation sheet and at least make that as a starting point. And what we realized when we started meeting people was, one thing that set apart each one of them was the say-do ratio. See, there are many people who come up with ideas. There are very few who actually work hard to convert them. There are many who convert them because their job demands them to do so. Great, nothing wrong. But then there are those differentiators who put in a little more just because they want to see it succeed, So, and collaboration is an often used cliche term, I think, but the beauty of collaboration, the beauty of handling data correctly so that you can arrive at the right conclusion. And the other thing is, start with identifying the problem, come to the solution, and tell how you have overcome that problem. I think that was something that we saw very clearly. In terms of, and we had one clear emerging leader, and we had two who can be aspiring leaders. And all of them, we saw that these three were sort of the common themes. And another thing I would like to also say that these were also people who were making use of technology, self-study, putting themselves in top gear in budget-constrained environments also. It's not every day that your organization, okay, here's the money, go do it. No. Right? So I think that was also something that stood out. I would also like to say that their affinity to be professionals rather than just belonging to a company or to a role is also something that stands out. Because one of the things that stood out for Sachin, I don't know if he's here, was he had the experience, but he unlearned what he did in the previous job. He started from zero. He learned the new culture and then went. I think that's a great journey. So I think those were the interesting touch points.
Lovely. So, Shruti, going back to what both our speakers, Samir and Vikas, just mentioned, did you see any pay forward or feed forward or jadid in any of the applicants, and how did you move around that?
Yeah, so one thing which really stood out for the participants was that they were very passionate. So that was something very clear. So whether what they were doing was a mandate of the organization or not, they believed in it. And they really went ahead to, do that. And, they tried to overcome all odds to achieve, whatever they had set out for. And with respect to feed forward, what I would want to say is that somewhere, we felt that that quantitative aptitude was lacking. So, they perhaps could have been a little better, with their numbers, with the impact which was there. So that was something, because, being HR people, we are very passionate. So we are very good to tell the stories. हमने ऐसा किया तो फिर ऐसा हुआ, people were happy. So, I could see the emotion and everything, but when, for instance, if NPS or, stuff like that, so how did it really translate into? So I think that would be, one input if, they could really look into.
So are you trying to say they couldn't back up with documentation?
No. Documentation was fantastic, but I'm telling about the numbers. Those numbers were somehow missing, because what happens when you are, sitting with business or your CEOs, I think if you talk numbers, if you talk the impact in terms of numbers, in addition to, the people stories, that really, catches the attention and the credibility of HR goes high.
Okay. And when three of you, sort of joined together to do these evaluations, what was your own interpretation of the word emerging?
Actually, not just emerging. I was looking at it as emerging as one word, HR as the second, and leader as the third. Oh, okay. Each one of them had their own, things that I would want to look at. Because emerging had to be someone, you don't have to be always groundbreaking, right? You have to innovate in what you have done so far. The beauty of innovation, which we've been talking about. I think to me, that was the emerging piece. Unlearning was definitely a must, because that's where you start carrying the baggage. You should not. HR, in the sense, you have a seat at the table. Are you converting it, or are you creating a seat at the table? That's what I talked about. I thought what was important. And leadership, obviously, is you have to stand out. You have to be someone who's going to say, hey, let's do this differently. Or to see an opportunity to, again, in Sachin's case, how do you have a unionized workforce go into performance management system? Let's just think about it, right? And then you go ahead and do it. So I think all three things are very important.
One more, Shruti, one more sort of interpretation of the word emerging is that they need to be young, not young at heart, but young. And
that made us old.
Yeah, well, rightly or wrongly, we had put that you need to be below 40. Yeah. That created a lot of heartburn among some of the applicants, yes, because they thought they were, qualified, but just because of the age criteria. Even the organizers, okay.
Yeah.
So going forward, now IMDR wants to obviously develop this as a property. Like she said, this is the first ever, and hopefully we'll have each year kind of thing. What would both of your recommendations be in terms of either, in terms of the thought process, in terms of these 4 or 5 things that we talked about, or any specific criteria of do's and don'ts? Any feed forward for us?
Yeah, so I think there are three things. One, we could have the categories very clearly defined. Some categories perhaps were slightly overlapping. So that was one. We could have categories for the people also, because some people who got disqualified because of the age, they also had a lot of potential. So that was the second thing. And third is that maybe we could articulate what are the areas we are looking at. For instance, between Anagha and we had decided, certain areas in terms of, say, initiative, relevance to the function, impact on the organization, etc. So maybe for different categories, we can articulate those a little better so that even the applicant knows what are they going to be evaluated on.
Yeah, I think she covered most. One thing, in my opinion, was that we were looking at not letting this get diluted. Let's not give 5 awards. No, it's emerging HR leader. There are reasons why we don't want it to be diluted, especially because it's the foundation year. And we probably were a little strict on that front. So yeah, I know we probably went back and said, okay, no, we're not doing this or doing that. But Dr. Shetty was kind enough to, okay, I'm good to be including all your thoughts, input. So that was good. But yeah, it was, and thankfully we matched on that wavelength. Like we knew that this is the path we needed to take. So let's just keep that intact is how we would look at it.
Great. Which also means, now that we've gone through the jury process, these awards are clearly not paid awards. These are actually earned awards.
We did disqualify people, yeah, unfortunately.
And one last question to both of you is that, hopefully there are more emerging leaders in this room here.
Yes.
What would be your friendly elderly advice, if I can use that word, to them? Alumni or no alumni, doesn't matter.
Yeah. So I'm going to be saying a few things which Mr. Patgaonkar and Mr. Gadgil have already talked, but I think very critical to me is business acumen. If you are looking to be an emerging HR leader, you need to have a basic business acumen. What domain, what segment is your company in? What is the business model? What do you mean by billing? What do you mean by all of these things translating into a business aspect? It's critical to know your business. It is very important to know what are your leaders saying to you. There are things that the leaders say, some things are explicit, some things are not. You have to develop the capacity to understand that, because unless you're aligned to your leader, you're just not going to be successful in the people function. So you should be very careful about that. And Shruti said some time back, please have a good grip on data, analytics, and then use the fine art of seeing how do I combine that data with my instinct and take the best decision. It can't be either ways, both times. It can't be anecdotal or it could be just data. Sometimes it is just data driven, but I think it is important to find that fine balance. And very importantly, in the volatile environment today, we have to start learning how to have HR implemented remotely. It's a huge different deal. So that's the change of landscape that has happened. So I think that would be the 4 points I would say.
Yeah, so I have a couple of things. Business acumen, as Anagha said, very, very important. We need to understand what business we are in. Second, it's also very important to, really understand the culture of the organization and be, conscious about it. So I'll tell you small things. While we launch very sophisticated, talent management, succession planning, etc., sometimes what happens is that we don't pay heed to, some communication which is happening on the floor. For instance, very, very laymanish example. Somebody is saying that यहाँ पर तो ऐसे ही होता है, इस company में कुछ नहीं हो सकता, etc., etc. And I have seen some very senior folks talk such things. So as HR, it's very, very important that, maybe not then and there, but we got to stop those things. I'm not saying that be a crusader, but it's important. Where is it stemming from? Because that one person will go and talk to 10 other people. And imagine, the rippling effect that it could have. So while we do launch, very, very strategic initiatives, it's important to, have the pulse of the organization and pay heed to, such things. So therefore, in my mind, communication, while it can be very, very structured, but these things also play a very key, role in the communication. And one thing, Advait, which I've seen from the time when we graduated to now, I think agility, that is something, it's very, very key. So for instance, if your business strategy is changing, have you really aligned, your HR strategy to be integrated into, the overall scheme of things? So I think these are, a couple of things apart from what, the esteemed panelists have shared.
when you said, change between then and now, you're not meaning that people like us, old people, are not agile, right?
You are evergreen, Mr. Kurlekar.
One point actually to add on to the culture point, great point, Shruti, is very often younger HR professionals think they are responsible for setting the company's culture. No, that's not. You understand the company's culture and help educate the managers and other senior influencers so that it becomes a part of practice. You are not setting the culture, so it's important to remember that in the enthusiasm.
Being the owner versus being the process owner.
Yeah. So just one last bit. So while we really talk about, tech, etc. So my, thought is that if that tech has helped us release some of our bandwidth, we should really utilize that for, softer elements, enhance on the EQ of the leaders and, work around that. Because those, very intangible things gives us a lot of cue and help us, build the HR strategy, which is, really useful for the business at large.
Great. Thank you so much. In the interest of time, I have to stop here. Ladies and gentlemen, Anagha and Shruti.
Thank you, panel, for that wonderful discussion. Moving on, the future of HR leadership is bright, and to walk on the same lines, we have our next session where we explore the key qualities and strategies needed to build the emerging HR leaders. Ladies and gentlemen, as we proceed further, I kindly request the presence of Mr. Sachin Aute and Mr. Eklavya Malhotra to join me on the stage. As we are already aware, Mr. Sachin Aute is the esteemed recipient of IMDR Emerging HR Leader Award and currently holds the position of Deputy General Manager of Human Resources at Cummins Generator Technology India Private Limited. Now allow me to introduce Mr. Eklavya Malhotra, who will be conducting an insightful interview with Mr. Sachin Aute, shedding light on his remarkable journey and achievements in the realm of human resources. Mr. Eklavya Malhotra is an engagement manager with Upohan and has been a part of management consulting firm since its inception in 2009. Sir has led consulting engagements ranging from strategy formulation and execution using balanced scorecard, business process improvement, strategy, HR transformation, and research-based analysis. Sir has worked with clients in India and across in various sectors including BFSI, manufacturing, automotive, media, retail, FMCG, IT, and diversified business group. I request Professor Gopadas to felicitate Mr. Eklavya Malhotra. Thank you, ma'am. Over to you, sir.
Okay, so we arrive at the final milestone now, and firstly, congratulations, Sachin. I think I am also here as part of the under 40 club, so that's probably the reason I have been chosen over here. And just for your information, this was the first edition of the Emerging HR Leader Awards by IMDR. So we had set the age limit to 40. And next year, we'll be raising it to 41, just to ensure that I can again be on the dais.
You may get another chance.
Yeah, you have emerged, I'm still emerging, perhaps. Sachin, first thing, I think Anagha mentioned that one of the things which she was really impressed with in your nomination and the subsequent discussion with the jury was unlearning, especially related to, I think, the wage settlement and integration, or rather onboarding of the unionized workforce onto your PMS platform. So can you just take us through that? How did you manage to do that part of it?
Sure. So first of all, I would like to thanks to IMDR, OHR, and Upohan Management Consultants for creating such a great forum to appreciate HR fraternity. So that's a great initiative. And thanks to the juries who have selected me as an emerging HR leader. So thanks a lot. Apart from this, coming to your question, learning and unlearning. So as I for all of your information, so I'm with 14 years of experience. I started my career journey as an HR trainee and today I'm heading a unit HR and leading HR for this plant. So while throughout my career journey, I signed 4 long-term wage settlements. First settlement I did with external union. There was key learning was different. So there I learned to build credibility with the unionized folks because they were approaching external. If I am having good credibility with internal stakeholder, so they may not go outside or they may not listen or they may not be able to influence through them. So if I am able to influence my internal stakeholder, so that is important. So I took this learning and then I did one more settlement in the same company and then I moved on. So I did another benchmark third settlement, that was a benchmark settlement for the industry what I feel. Because that settlement was for 4 years and that's a prospective settlement which I did after loss of 9 months. So that was a key learning to the union not to waste time. And that was a good learning for me how to influence these guys. So this was, however, management support was very important. If I am taking stand to not to give a retrospective settlement, and management was firm, you fight, I am there to support you, whatever it may be, if they go on strike, if they any unrest, we will support. So their management was strong and they were ready to take hit. When I joined new company, then again I did benchmark settlement. Why this is benchmark? Because this I signed before due date. That's why this is again benchmark, and that could be one good example for the industry or for all the HR fraternity. There are many who are sitting here, they might have signed the settlement before due date. But mine is important because previous settlement was delayed by 27 months. And this was before due date, that's why it is benchmark settlement. So how I did this? By unlearning. So when I joined this company, I unlearned because their management was pushing me, no, don't give retrospective settlement. Here they were saying do it before due date, for which the principle of these companies are different. I am an employee, though I am the leading HR. So we all are employees, we have to follow the principles and values of the companies. That could be vary from company to company. So I learned my previous learning, where I used to take tough stand. Here I have to take care of my employees. I do not have to talk harshly, and they are also not supposed to talk with me harshly. So such culture was there, and I have to maintain that. So with this all restrictions, I came with a mindset that I can do anything. Like their management was supporting, you go do strike and anything. Here I have to ensure strike should not be there, unrest should not be there, and peaceful environment we must maintain throughout the time. So when I joined, I learned within 90 days. Unlearn my previous learning. Then I learned this new culture, and then I started working on this. That's the way.
That's quite incredible that 90 days is all it took you to unlearn and relearn. But then, a normal wage settlement, I think as most of us are familiar with, it's just a staggered payout. It's very democratic to that extent. How did you manage to introduce variability in all of that by bringing in performance-oriented compensation also? How were you able to get them onto PMS, the unionized workforce?
That's a very nice question, Eklavya. So to bring unionized workforce in the PMS system, that could be unique. I'm not aware if someone is having this system in anybody's company. But here we did implement this so there were a lot of resistance from these unionized guys. They approach external guys also to take advice. Because one right question from union side, if you put us into PMS system, the main motto was to form union was that PMS. Because chehre dekh increment hota tha. That was the reason they formed union. So that could be the case in all companies. Biases, then treatment, dignity. These are the few issues that leads workmen to form an union. And then finally amount, that salary rise they gets. And that's all about environment, region, come industry, what we talks everywhere. So they get to learn here, this company has signed the settlement for 20,000. Another signed 19,000, and we are getting 3,000 rupees rise per month. What it is? So better way to form union. Here they form union after before 10 years, and today, after long practices of that wage rise, that was a flat for all the workmen. If we decide to give 15,000 rise, 5,000 per year, and then I distribute it, simply distribute it in 3 years, equal distribution or 60, 20, 20, whatever it may be. So they will get flat rise to all the workmen, and that may not have big impact on performance their performance, because they are getting. One good practice, recently we all were following, even I also did settlement, previous settlement with the PLIS, that is productivity linked incentive scheme, where if I'm able to link their 15% or 20% amount with their performance, so they may get that amount paid, 15% of their wage rise amount is linked with the productivity. However, that 15% they will get flat for all workmen again. So there is no performance differentiation. If being an HR professional, I am able to implement PMS for these guys, same like us. Today we are fighting for that, being into high performance, that 20% cadre. So we are aspiring for that, and for that reason I am performing good. So this is key motive for all the employees to perform. So however, unionized guys, they are saying, नहीं मेरा 3 साल का settlement हो गया, I am getting good rise, there is nothing doing, 3 साल अभी हो गया मेरा. That mindset they are having. So to convince these guys, we did more than 40 communications. That could be offline, online, that in the form of training to the managers to build their capabilities. Right? Why their capability is important? To deal with the unionized workmen, to do their PMS, that is also one of the great skill they have to develop inside. To deal with an engineer, it is like your rating is 2 rating and this is for this year. You did not do this presentation very well. He can give any reason. Number of reasons he can give and he cannot push back. Here to deal with unionized, there is union raised one valid question that about biases. So how will you rate 1, 2, 3? There could be biases, like my manager and I like this person, I will give him. That has happened in the past, and in such scenario, I have to convince these guys. So we came up with a robust check sheet where all their work plan objectives were defined. So these all associates or workmen have to follow this check sheet, and there is a transparency. If you achieve this number of quality, safety, absenteeism, presenteeism, we made a fair check sheet where all transparency was there. So that was a key point where we were able to convince. Still, they were not going back down to the employees and saying, "No, we have to accept this," because there were back pressure from the down the line. Then we started communicating to the down the line. Of course, by taking union in confidence, we talked to the down the line employees, and we are able to convince these guys. And finally, we had to say this is global policy and we have to implement it. So previous learning was that 27 months was delayed. And here, if they do any mistake, the union leaders are also having back pressures. So finally, after long struggle to convince these guys, and I would say we were able to get it done. Yeah, thank you.
One more notable achievement which you had highlighted, and I'm sure that must have caught the jury's attention also, was the integration of the gender diversity programs and having more women on the shop floor. So any specific action plans that you could share with us which helped you drive up the gender quotient?
Sure, thanks. So about gender diversity, so everybody of us is working on gender diversity because we have targets from top leadership. And being HR professional, we should focus on this area, and we should be able to make such a culture or environment, right environment, where women talent should come up and they should feel proud to work with us. So that should be the key motive of being an HR professional, because as Mr. Joshi said, we should give a good experience. So every month or quarterly, I do have a session with our shop floor employees. So we do higher diploma, MBA, and these guys. So last week, I was having interaction with one of the newly onboarded batch of 60, out of which 15 were female employees. So I just asked the questions. So I do take training or just onboarding training on just like right environment, what it is, why community is important, and how you are safe in our custody. And I just ask a simple question, why you join or why you like to join this company. That all females said, we got a feedback, this is a very good company and management is very good, canteen food is very nice, and for female employees, it is very good culture or very safe environment. So you rightly, he was talking on employee experience. It's not only to retain employees, but to attract talent, that helps. That helps. So this way, this is like how what culture we are maintaining. Now coming to the action plan, we made a phase-wise action plan. So where we need to convince our shop floor managers first. So because they are saying, how do I manage with these girls on shop floor? So that mindset people are carrying. As you rightly said, traditional mindset, then we need to change, learn. Everything is there in this phase. So in first phase, we identified all the stations where we can deploy female candidates. So and then if there are stations and we are not deploying, again top-down approach we applied. So we convince this line manager, you have to, there is no choice. Then with this we hired around 40 women talent on shop floor. Next phase, right now we are working partially that we have completed, where we did gender neutral stations. We worked on gender neutral stations. So that where female also can work, male also can work with, there are some height constraint, then conveyorization and everything we did with the ergonomical changes on the line. And with this we may achieve 15% of diversity on shop category. Yeah, thank you.
It's so refreshing that after a day spent about, listening to tech in HR, it's good to hear that the fundamentals of HR are still sound and those still can be applied. So lastly, Sachin, what's on your agenda for this year?
See, throughout the tech, HR tech, the next tech. So whatever I talked, personally I feel, so I worked, initially Mr. Mahendra Inge talked on people were maintaining leave book manually. I also worked on this before 10-15 years. So today my team is working on Power BI dashboard. Everything is maintained online. Even workmen are not coming to HR for asking for about leave and everything. We have put up some kiosk on the shop floor. They are coming up, they are putting their own leaves. They are taking printout of their salary slips, etc. So they are doing on their own. So here, on this year, I'm taking an agenda that to make our shop category of employees, to make them 100% tech savvy, or by giving them access to technology. So that is what. So since we have implemented PMS for these guys, it should not happen that they are coming to HR, they are going to their manager and they are asking, please do my goal setting in the system. There's a key fact that confidentiality, that we have to maintain. For that purpose, we have to give access to all these guys, and that would help us to go for digitization, and of course we will do this. So that's on key agenda of mine.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Sachin, and we only hope and wish that this is the first of many more significant milestones that you achieve in your career. And like I was telling you earlier, like maybe we'll meet again in a few years to bestow upon you HR Lifetime Award, hopefully.
Perfect, yeah.
We'll meet when we are on the wrong side of 40.
Sure, sure.
Thank you, everyone. Your emerging HR Leader of the Year, Sachin Aute.
Thank you for a great enriching session. As we approach to the culmination of this inspiring event, I would like to invite Professor Sanmat Shetty to propose a vote of thanks.
Even though this looks large, it is not. I'll quickly finish. I'm in between you and the lunch. Last year during the HR Summit, we had actually received the news that we were NBA accredited. So I'm expecting some good news by today evening also. Okay. Respected guests, esteemed speakers, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the organizing committee of IMDR HR Summit 2024, HR Tech, the next day, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to each and every one of you for gracing us with your presence and making this event a remarkable success. First and foremost, I would like to express our deepest appreciation to Shri Pramod Rawat, Chairman Deccan Education Society, governing body, for his unwavering support and guidance throughout this summit. I would also like to extend our sincere thanks to Shri Jagdish Kadam, Chairman Board of Management, IMDR, for his presence and support to ensure that this entire event went smoothly. Dr. Shri Dhananjay Kulkarni, Secretary DES, we are truly grateful for his priceless contribution. A special thank you to our esteemed guest speakers, Yogesh Patgaonkar, Mahendra Inge, Akanksha Sane, Ashok Bildikar, Dipali Dewaikar, Samir Gadgil, and Dr. Joshi, sir, for sharing your helpful insights, expertise, and experience with us. Your thought-provoking session have enriched us with our understanding of HR tech and inspired us to explore new horizons in the field of human resource management. Furthermore, I would like to express my gratitude to Ms. Anagha Chaphalkar and Ms. Shruti Trivedi, members of our jury, for their dedicated efforts interviewing many participants and selecting the deserving Mr. Sachin Aute. We would also like to extend a heartfelt thanks to OHR for their invaluable support in conducting this event, Upan, especially Advait and Eklavya, for their relentless assistance throughout the planning process. Additionally, we extend our gratitude to True Essentials for their support as our gifting partners. I extend my heartfelt thanks to Dr. Shekha Jain, the dedicated teaching and non-teaching staff, our esteemed students, for their unwavering support and participation in making IMDR HR Summit 2024 a great success. In closing, I extend my sincere appreciation to each and every one of you for being part of the IMDR HR Summit 2024. Your presence and contributions have made this event truly memorable, and we look forward to continuing our journey of exploration and innovation in the field of HR. Thank you once again, and may we continue to strive for excellence in all our endeavors. Thank you. We have arranged for lunch in room number 9 and 8. Okay, request all the guests, all participants to please join us for lunch.